Hey guys, welcome to my SKT versus G2 semifinals review. SKT versus G2, these teams are both legends. SKT probably the most well-known League of Legends team in the history of the world. And also, they are the most accomplished League of Legends team, 3-time world champion. For G2, this is the start of a dynasty. I wouldn't quite call it a dynasty. They haven't been around even a full a League of Legends year, but they won every single best of 5 they played yet. And they were able to topple SKT in this best of 5 also. So yeah, let's go figure out how they did it. One thing that I was really worried about for SKT is the speed of snowballing. G2 and a lot of the European teams that started copying G2 have really mastered how to be very fast about snowballing a lead once they're ahead. Once they get Baron, once they take a few turrets early, they're just very good about transitioning a lead into a bigger lead and taking calculated risks. Where I feel like SKT and a lot of the traditional Korean teams have really failed on that. Especially it shows when SKT gets first Baron. Their Baron is incredibly slow. So those are my kind of key points that I want to watch throughout the series. How solid and how steady SKT will be, and how fast G2 will be able to snowball. Let's go. Syndra ban.
All eyes on the draft because something has got to give. Some power pick will make it through and something will change.
G2, I think will ban Akali, Pantheon Akali, SKT probably, Xayah.
High priority bans, high priority picks, things like the Pantheon are to be expected.
Kiana, okay, wow. G2 self-banned Kiana. Kiana ban's interesting.
Yeah, and we spent about 2 hours
Yep, there's that Akali ban.
Drafts, and never did we run through the same draft twice because there are about 10 to 12 picks that feel like if they aren't banned, they are going to be picked. So it's not as much about, oh my god,
Xayah Gragas, super fucking important for SKT.
It's more about
Quinn ban, looking to pick
Renekton.
Renekton.
And the Quinn ban is the first thing that to me sends a signal that SKT want to pick Renekton.
Now the question is, are G2 happy to leave it open? We've seen them answer with the Ornn before.
Yeah.
Things like the Rise are also open. Do you take the gamble and say, okay, you first pick Renekton, we will take the Rise?
G2
Or
might be
is
happy
SKT
giving
doing
them
a double
Renekton.
bluff
They
here
have
and
a
say,
lot of things
well,
they
you
can
know
take,
what?
yeah.
We'll actually first pick Rise and we'll
Yeah.
give you the Renekton because
Renekton. I think a really common pattern that can happen is Renekton first pick SKT, Xayah Gragas 1 and 2 for G2.
Rise is up. Renekton is up.
There we go.
Xayah and Rakan are up as a duo.
Yeah.
SK Telecom will lock in the Renekton. There are so many tournament power picks up and available for both
Xayah
sides right
Gragas.
now.
Yeah, Xayah Khan's up, Kai'Sa Nautilus is up, all the other things you
I think
mentioned. It's
Gragas
a
is
matter
just
of
such a good
what
champion in
these
the meta
teams
right
want to
now.
make
Yep,
sure they
there we
have,
go.
and with the performance of G2, I think it's the Xayah Khan.
It's got to be Xayah Rise. I think that they will actually not play
Xayah Gragas. I've been saying it over and over again. Gragas is such an important pick in the
One
meta.
of his best champions, but also giving the flexibility that Rise does have, I feel that it can go into Renekton even if it's not the best matchup. But the fact that you can flex it would make it extremely valuable.
I think Gragas
Really
for
wanna
Khan
give
are
SKT
super
both
fucking
Rise
important
and
champions.
Renekton.
Yep, there we go.
Betty says you
No,
say that.
You wouldn't think giving them the double flex, and that's why they hover the Gragas
Okay.
to then go for
Whoa,
a smart move.
not
like
taking
G2.
Gragas.
But now it leaves the Gragas open for Click.
So, the only rationale I can think about for not taking Gragas is Gragas Renekton isn't as strong as Elise Renekton or Talia Renekton. Elise is banned, and maybe G2 is expecting SKT to take Talia over the Gragas, but they were actually really heavily considering that Gragas pick there.
Gragas, I think, hands down, one of the most successful, if not the most successful jungler at the tournament. Second most popular behind Lee Sin. Incredible win rate so far. And SKT now have to choose. Do they want to grab Kai'Sa? Because if they don't, it will be banned away. They've already grabbed the Gragas.
There
What
we
will
go.
the last pick be?
Well, I think that for
Gragas
SKT,
so OP.
they must have something else prepared for Xayah because the
There,
best thing.
Kai'Sa.
Okay, never mind. They're just going to go straight for the Kai'Sa.
Something special,
Yeah.
something
Rakan.
new,
So
something,
they would do
it's
something
Kai'Sa.
different. Nope, they're going to stick with standards. So far,
Rakan. I think they should take Rakan here. There are plenty of jungles left that Jankos can play. Lee, Jarvan, Olaf even, yeah.
SKT's comp,
Rakan
very
3.
traditional, very standard, and now G2 can freely pick up the Rakan and they can start banning away the obnoxious supports. Leona, Nautilus, Alistair.
Leon and Nautilus for sure. I think Leon and Nautilus are the two bans they're gonna do. Leon and Nautilus are the two that are really good into Rakan. For SKT, jungle bans probably, Lee Jarvan.
I expect SKT to now attack Yankos' champion pool.
Lee Jarvan for sure. If they don't ban Jarvan, Jarvan Rise becomes so dangerous for anyone to deal with. So Lee Jarvan. Ornn, okay. G2, that's been the G2's pick into Renekton.
We saw Wonder play it up against Griffin. It worked wonderfully.
G2's gonna ban Leo.
Watch G2 pull out a Singed or something. That's something ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, that's the added wrinkle to this whole draft phase is none of us are expecting there to be
Wow,
no
Trist? What?
at this
Okay,
event.
Tristan to
There
Rise,
are
that's the
the
matchup
super
Faker
top
doesn't want to
tier
play.
where it's this
Or
saturated
Yankos, or not
ban
Yankos, holy
champions
shit,
we're
Caps
seeing
doesn't want to
this pick
play.
and ban phase with maybe
Okay, so
Orange
it's gonna be
kind of on the fringe edge.
Leona
What the
for
new pick going
SKT,
to be is what we haven't
Lee
seen.
Jarvan
They're
for
gonna need
G2.
something into this Renekton.
I am a big fan of this Tristana ban against Faker. It was something that he often brings
Leo
out
Jarvan
against the
here.
Rise. He's been able to have some great performances in the matchup, and G2 showcasing that
Rek'Sai,
respect.
okay.
Oh, they're actually valuing
Rek'Sai
the
Rise
over
also really
something
good.
like the Lee Sin, something that they have often gone for, but clearly showcasing a preference for the slightly stronger dueler and early game jungle.
And I think what we've seen so
Leo.
far out of this draft phase is a higher preference towards matchups.
What
rather than
mid?
Just trying to.
What mid? Cassio Gragas, a little bit awkward. Cassio good into Rakan, Cassio good into Rek'Sai though. Faker's been a godly Cassio player before. No Syndra, so Rise is really strong.
Stockpile as many
Hike?
power picks as
No,
possible.
that's trolling.
I like the hub
No.
from SKT. I'm expecting
Okay.
the Leona to come through, and now they're just looking.
Veigar, if
for
Faker actually plays it, would be really nice too. Veigar into Rakan, Veigar into Rek'Sai.
Different in the mid lane, and Twisted Fate is something that Faker has played so far this tournament.
And it's also something that G2 have
Cassio.
struggled against repeatedly domestically.
Okay, Cassio's not bad either. I would love the Veigar here if Faker played it. Veigar into Rise, Rakan, Rek'Sai.
As much, but the Nico, you said you wanted something
Nico
new. We
knee.
were supposed to see something, and that might be it. But where is the Nico going to go?
The Nico I expect to be mid lane. This was actually one of Faker's most played champions throughout the year, or rather throughout the summer split.
Yeah.
And it's something that he defaulted to when he just needed something safe and strong in the mid lane. A lot of team fight power.
Oh, I would have loved the
Effective in
Veigar.
lane. I'm excited to see
I
that
hate
happen.
the Nico pick versus Rise Rek'Sai. Good in lane versus the Rise, but pretty dangerous versus the combination of Rek'Sai also.
Wherever it does end up, and it looks like topside will be the Kled versus Renekton matchup.
When good Korean teams pick Renekton, they know to play towards it. The majority focus this game will be on top side. Renekton Gragas into Kled.
We got through the first half of the draft easy. The second came to lane encounter.
And also, one thing that's a little bit bad for G2 is double AD on top side versus
It's
Renekton
about what you're
Gragas.
willing to opt into. So in this case, SKT did a very Renekton-focused draft. They used a late first phase ban on Quinn. They first picked Renekton, and what does it cost? It costs Rise and basically Zyra Rakan with the way G2 managed to pull this out. So G2, in a sense, draft around their bottom side with a little bit of mid, and SKT draft around Khan.
I think the biggest thing to track in this first game for all the viewers at home, the mid laners, they do not like to stay in their lane. They showcased in the quarterfinals that they love to roam, especially early. So keep your eyes on them. Let's see which lanes they can impact, if they can impact them at all.
Here we go, SK Telecom T1 versus G2 Esports. Who will face FPX in the 2019
Wow, the
World
draft is a lot more
Finals? We'll find
standard
out
than I
today.
thought it would be. Especially with Faker playing Nico, like that's like the only weird pick that I didn't expect. I know the result. What I don't know is what actually happened in game.
Madrid and the Policia Vistalegre is ready. Faker and Caps
Nothing weird
facing
level
each
1
other
from either
down in
team.
the
Both
mid-lane.
teams
The first
standing
seed of
out.
the LCK versus the first seed of the LEC. In years past, SKT would have been favored through and through, but this year, even footing, everything on the line for both these players.
Wow, the TSM chants are actually obnoxious, I guess.
Draft phase to pay attention to these mid laners, not because of the mid lane, but because of where they go elsewhere. Look at that lane percentage stat. That's the percentage of time between 3 and 50 minutes that these players actually stay in mid lane. And Caps did that less than any other player in the quarterfinals. Faker in the group stage did it less than any other mid laner in the group stage. So push and roam will be the name of the game, and where do they go from there?
And the question for me is, where do these
Why
teams
roaming is so powerful is whenever mid laners disappear, whenever they go into brushes, it causes like so much problems for other sides. Like if there's a giant wave built up on bot lane and the mid laner is Mia, you have to back up from the turret, right? And you end up missing a lot more than a mid laner would have been able to gain by staying mid. And then vice versa. If you're winning and the mid laner goes Mia, it's really dangerous to be hitting turret. Like it becomes really dangerous to hit turret, and it becomes really dangerous to harass someone. So just by mid laner being Mia, it causes so much problems.
look to prioritize early, because for SKT, typically you'd want to try and play around.
You just don't have to be in vision.
Stack up a wave, look to set up a dive, but Clay is very difficult to dive. He's a very difficult champion to actually try and snowball onto. So they could pivot their attention.
It's a huge concept in high tier jungling, where even if you don't gank, it's very important you're not showing on the map and revealing your location to the enemy team, because it allows people to play very differently, right? If you show on the map. And I think it's another huge thing with mid laners also. If you don't show on the map, it forces people to play so differently. Wow.
Perks and Mickey definitely not getting the good end of
The
that
passive.
trade. Heal burned very early on.
Hello? I'm coming down right now. Alright, give me 1 sec, guys. Let me go grab my food. I'm not gonna eat. I'm gonna grab my food and then we're gonna go with the VOD review and I'll eat my food after. Alright. Alright, ready? 3, 2, 1.
Important to note, neither bot lane has opted to take the TP. Clearly, both are ready for a potential all-in here on the bottom side.
And this is what we were just talking about, how Perks and Mickey
And
love
both
to
bot
try
lane
and
playing
play
so aggressive.
during the laning phase. They try to build their own advantages by being aggressive. And this is a great opportunity for SKT to try and punish this. With one Summoner Spell already down, you can see that Clay is doing a full bot side clear. Very standard for a Gragas. I'm wondering if you'll choose to base or if you'll look for a bot lane gank.
And what we're looking at right now from SKT is a pushing top lane and a pushing bot lane. And traditionally, you actually wouldn't say this is what you should be doing, because the strong side of the map, the side with your jungler, should be the ones that are allowed to push. And the weak side would actually have to play a little bit passively. That's not actually how SKT have been playing. There have been instances where they're going for a dive top and their bottom line is still aggressive. It is a potential window to punish, but if left unpunished, can also be a way for SKT to gain an edge in the early game?
I think that's a really archaic way of thinking about the game. Playing towards one strong side and playing towards one weak side. Early game now is so fluid, and jungle pathing is so unpredictable that I think that's... Yeah, it's not the way you think and play about the game anymore. People, like, when Rek'Sai is not doing, like, red, double golem, wraith, and then gank level 3 top side. Gragas did the standard 3 camps and then recall. But pathing is so differently thought about, and people are so much more okay with taking risks. And also, especially for bot lane, because you can double vision, like Effort and Teddy did, to prevent ganks. I think you can play aggressive on many lanes as possible, and pair that with a jungle invade to get early leads. You don't have to do weak side, top side, or weak side, strong side.
For now, no one pushing for a greater edge. You can see Gragas pulling back as his very standard 3 quick camps, followed by the Predator boots to make sure that Clid can have maximum impact on the map. Yanko's now moving into lane, waiting in the darkness, but will be revealed by the ward. Luckily, the sweeper will clear out a little bit of that vision, may be able to get a second ward here in the duration. Will just opt to back off. Clearly, G2 putting some resources on the bottom side.
This was such a non-traditional Rek'Sai pathing.
What will it do for them in the early game?
They're also answering it with the Kled, something that they clearly did not need to prioritize because they recognized the Ornn would likely be banned. We now see Kled looking for a gank mid.
Caps snare, this is going to be bad. Kled now moving in, creep-wave there to body block.
Oh.
Caps will be forced to retreat, but the phase rush just allows him to zoom out to safety.
Rides probably has about 500, 600 gold, gonna be able to get tier.
Knowledge of the gank, the phase rush helps him after that, and Clid didn't want to
That's not even a gank. Rides wanted to reset there.
Down there. So pretty much just a well-played gank by both teams.
And some fancy footwork there on the bottom side for Mickey and Perks, using that unique...
The thing I'm worried about for SKT is them not being able to snowball top side. Top side snowball is so important. I feel like Renekton as a champion just ages like spoiled milk if you're not able to get him really started.
Something that they did a lot of during the group stages was try and...
Champions like Renekton and LeBlanc that have dashes and CCs, right? So, like LeBlanc and Renekton, you have to give up so much to have that in your kit, right? For a champion to have a dash and a CC, like LeBlanc with her jump and chain, Renekton with his jump and stun, like those are extremely powerful tools for you to have. So most often you have incredibly strong early game and very weak later on stages. So champions like that, you need to be able to snowball and you need to be able to play towards.
Force early TP plays towards the bot side of the map, where in windows where the opposition
Kiana also, but Kiana's broken as fuck. I don't know why, but she doesn't scale like shit. Kiana's just broken. Wow, how? Show us the replay for this.
I mean, those are the types of plays that Mickey has made in the past to be able
what
to
the
impact
fuck?
the mid lane. The fact that it did give a kill back
and
Faker has his teleport up actually means
so
it
Caps use flash EW, I'd imagine, because Caps has his flash burn.
We're looking to run the play back on the opposite side. The flash in, Caps now locked up the
okay, the return kill.
Caps deleted by the Leona.
Fantastic response from SKT. They're able to get the kill onto Caps, and now they actually have the kill lead. Now Khan has found Jankos.
Might just have to dash in though. Should have the second proc there. We'll dash out to safety. Clid waiting.
Oh, they're gonna go back in.
They're going back in. Jankos, the flash body slam. He's trying to run the tunnel. We'll take him out to safety. Back under the tower, but within inches of death there.
Yeah, flash for flash, but SKT is definitely going to try and keep the pressure up, just delaying Jankos' recall as much as possible. You can't really dive the Kled this early unless you're willing to send another. So
Kled no TP here,
looks
though.
like you have the all clear to recall.
They need, they need SKT. They need the mid laner to help out with this. So Faker just doing this. Remember, like going out of vision. We talked about Faker goes in here and he goes out of vision. Wonder can't take the risk of, oh, Faker's gonna go back to lane. He's just faking it, right? Because if he gets this wrong and Faker actually comes, then he's gonna die with a huge wave, and he doesn't have TP, so he becomes almost out of game.
Khan just hit level 6.
And Faker did go into fog, so Wonder has to respect the roam.
Wow, he's not respecting it.
Khan just gonna walk up, just gonna fight for that play.
Gragas could have stayed here. Nico could have came. He feels like he would survive, and he feels like his team can clean up. I guess that's the strength of Rise with Rise Ultimate. He feels like Rise is always going to be able to match.
Wonder's not going to burn any cooldowns without seeing the Gragas. Has to be patient, but
oh, that's
will not
crazy.
Clear this wave out.
So we're going to be diving back into this play. Mickey, level 3 roam. Remember that the bot lane did a very early
Flash
base,
W.
but I love the fact that Effort is already roaming mid. This means that as
Beautiful.
Mickey and Caps are setting up the play, Mickey
oh, wow.
is just a little too close to the tower. He gets rooted up, but now Caps, he can't push the wave out. And while Effort has to commit a flash, he's able to find a return kill.
And the biggest thing when using your flash aggressively for kill mid is you have to be able to reset the wave. Unable to do that, and the correct punish by SKT.
Now the all-in on the bottom side, though. Effort has gone face first into danger, but Perks is so low. One more proc. Not going to find it quite yet. He has to be careful. Caps now moving in. The knockup is there. Mickey now trying to find a retreat, but Clid coming into the backside. Caps trying to zoom his way through the fight. The phase rush isn't going to be enough. Caps now caught up with Effort, but the CC
oh,
is
that's
there.
actually really bad.
Goes down.
Now on the return, Faker's coming down too.
For G2, because not only is their bottom lane down healing having to back, that was an unmatched roam in which
just doing
Caps
Scotto
died.
instead.
So we talked about what are these mid laners going to be able to do in the roaming game. When that happens, you actually cede control of the mid lane, and Faker will probably have freedom to roam for the foreseeable future.
Beautiful punish from SKT, and we talked.
The thing about Caps roam and why it's so effective is he's almost never unsuccessful with his roams in terms of like denying CS bot side or denying CS top side or like denying a jungler or camp. So even when he roams and he has to make sacrifices mid, he's still coming out even at the very least because of the damage that he's caused. But these are one of the few cases where he roams and he's putting a net negative for his team.
Talk so much about how important it is for both these teams to look for these early roams, and
he's just so crazy when it comes to like never being a net negative whenever he's roaming.
With his initial roam is, as you were saying, Jack, very detrimental to the side of G2. SKT are looking very good in this early stage.
And you can see that Clid pretty early catches Caps in the jungle, so SKT should know that Caps at least has the opportunity to go down here. And this play is kind of known for a while, so they get so much out of Mickey and Perks.
Yeah.
But the turn is
Mickey and
difficult
Perks lost
for the
so
rest
much
of
there
G2
already.
to follow up on, and we're just going to see a Hex Flash into a play.
Repeat.
Oh.
Oh, Void's here going to force the ult out there for Perks. That's going to make him so vulnerable in the lane phase to come. And SKT's bottom lane, not the point of the map where we expect them to be strongest, but
I consider G2 the best Xayah or con team in the world. I'm surprised they're losing so much from bot side. Leo too tanky. Leo too
That's a
tanky.
fake Clid. That's a faker waiting.
W and
Execute
aftershock.
right are in.
Can go for it. Clid waiting there, though. Would be able to get the kill, but then would immediately get taken down as fake Clid waiting in the river.
One thing I'm worried for SKT, even though they're ahead, is the Renekton versus Kled matchup. I feel like Renekton's so bad if you don't snowball him.
They had to be able to match the high pace that G2 like to set, because that is what allowed G2 to get advantages against SKT.
Like the CS is dead even, 67 to 67. Even with like Con still winning topside, it feels so bad.
Teddy and Effort are playing this lane extremely well as well. They're punishing the over-aggression from Perks and Mickey that is not getting the support from Caps, because every time he tries to roam, it gets interrupted.
And I think we should keep looking at Effort. He is the least experienced player on this roster overall. He has had a few bad games at Worlds, but I felt like he had actually a pretty strong quarterfinal. So how will he respond to G2's roams? Because if someone's going to get picked off in these games, it would likely be the Leona, and so far Effort has played very well.
Punishing Mickey left and right with some beautiful Zenith blades, as well as the gank into the mid lane. Of course, the cask thrown in from Clid there in an attempt to steal the blue buff. Still will be secured by the side of G2. So for at least a minute, they will have a reprieve from the all-in threat of the Gragas. Sanko's finally hitting level 6, but just has not been able to match so far. It's kind of been chasing Clid around the map.
I think that's a very
this is the scary Rise part. Rise with blue buff can infinitely clear. Always going to be faster to clear than other people. Can disappear every wave.
To contest River, where Jankos will have level 6 in Hail of Blades. It means his bottom lane also can't get forward control, where it's really the...
I actually love this ward by Faker. Ward dead in the center. Rise pings it out too. Like he has a ward dead in the center, so he can see where Rise is going to run.
Until that ultimate cooldown is back up, the rest of SKT is in a bit of a pressure deficit, and that might allow G2 to be able to catch up in this game.
Now, one of the things I will also be tracking is whether one of these two teams looks for an early swap. because what you can do, especially given that G2's bot lane has been struggling in the laning phase, is try for an early swap towards topside, generate a numbers advantage, and then look to make a play for the Herald, while SKT will trade it for a Drake. And given that it's a Cloud, that would be a pretty advantageous trade for G2, and they could potentially get out of this 2v2 that they have been struggling in.
Caps walking in the fog of war.
I think one thing that's changed a lot regarding professional League of Legends is importance of plates. Do you guys remember, like, in middle of summer and probably even like late in spring, how important we consider plating? Oh, there's so much gold on the map because of plating this, plating that. Like, it's important to take place. Oh man, this person took 4 plates from this guy. Like, everyone does not care about plates anymore, and there's so much more about moving around the map, placing vision, or getting better recall timing than like having more plating.
We'll start up the Cloud Drake. Jankos on the way down. Not the biggest objective, but will be clutch for the movement between lanes here in the early to mid game.
It'll be incontestable. Clid was spotted by expiring G2 ward on his blue buff, so this was a very safe move from G2, and I think a lot of this actually does stem back from Clid wasting his ult trying to steal a blue buff. It left a vacuum of pressure that G2 was able to take advantage of.
Yeah, I think that's a very valid point, Jat. But what I love now with SKT is because they were on the top side,
returning
they're
with
immediately
Herald.
responding with the Herald themselves, which means this swap, if it comes out from G2, is not going to be as beneficial. And now we'll actually start to see these supports open up on the map. Look at Mickey on the minimap and look at Effa. Both of them looking for opportunities, grouping up around mid, seeing if they can help gain priority to allow their mid laners to roam around.
Both of them level 6. Very easy, though, for SKT to find a setup onto a pick if anyone missteps, though. Have the hose for
This is a pre-14-minute Herald. Really good in terms of getting plating, in terms of being able to get first turret.
Find a greater edge quite yet.
And what I
have a feeling SKT is going to use it top side, but I would love to see them use it mid side instead.
Notice that Wonder's actually very even in farm. He hasn't tried to play super aggressively. He hasn't relied on Jankos to play around his lane. He's just like, you can't kill me, I can't kill you. And I think that this... why have I forgotten its name? The Kled should outscale the Renekton later on and will be a strong initiator for later fights that I imagine G2 will look to set it.
Yeah, we'll have to see how that ends up playing out, because I've seen Renekton's 1v3 with Spear of Sojourn.
That's
it's all
fair.
about if you can find access to the fight. I think it's one of the reasons it's been such a banned pick. And even now, SKT still opting to play through top. So they have a few plates broken, and instead of trying to use the Herald mid for Faker and potentially more mid roaming,
top side.
they're going straight for comp.
First turret
maybe
opens
even looking
up
to
the
make a
map.
play afterwards onto Wonder.
Conqueror proc, Clid waiting in the darkness, does have the cask back up.
We might see 2 fights.
Dive. Effort, though, going to go in on the bottom side. That's big. Faker diving into the back side. Won't find anything as the quick retreat now comes out.
Great flash
Wonder
from
doing what he
Caps.
can to hold onto the tower, but will not walk in, and that means tower first blood
First turret
will
there.
go down in the favor of SKT.
Yeah, really
Gonna be
interesting
able to get
interaction
mid
there,
also.
how SKT
They're just
actually
gonna
tried
straight
to
go
force
mid.
a 3-man fight on the bottom side when they had their jungler and top laner top, but it's all about reacting now as SKT stay mid.
Coming in, Wonder has the ultimate. He might just dive in. Have to be careful, though. Faker has his ultimate, a perfect disengage.
SKT winning 2 sides of the map while G2 just getting bot
Teddy,
side.
they're going to demount Wonder, and that's going to mean he cannot ult in the coming fight. Faker just pressuring more with damage, knowing it stops the engage options for G2 until Wonder remounts.
And SKT are playing the map much better right now, because remember that they made the trade where they got the Herald. They were the one that could create a tempo advantage up towards the top side of the map.
This next reset and getting on the map is really important for
and because of the
SKT.
engage from SKT, that forced G2 out of mid lane, and they were too low to be able to commit to bot tower, which means that there was no
Outside of
answer
Kaisa,
for
everyone
G2.
reset
SKT
once.
only gained advantages by
Kaisa
securing
behind
the
on
top
the
tower.
reset.
They got a plate in mid lane, and they can now look to set up for the Infernal Drake that's spawning in 2 minutes' time.
The only thing that G2 would have gained off
There
of
we
that
go, Kaisa
is
finally taking a reset.
vision in SKT's red side jungle and plate spot for perks.
Yes.
So when we thought about this draft to begin with, it was SKT who put a higher priority on getting Renekton, and G2 who used their first 2 picks on the Xayah and Ryze. So we did at least expect these teams to play through Renekton for top lane on SKT and play through bottom lane on G2. And that's, for the most part, where we've seen these efforts. So now as they kind of clash at the Drake pit, we'll see who hits the stronger
This
power
first
play.
fight is going to be
Xayah right
so
now,
important.
Retriever, or is it SKT with the control?
Now, SKT have cleared out all of that vision that you were just talking about, Jat. They're the
This
ones
Inferno
with
Drake,
control
neither team
over
is going to
the
let
bot
go of
side.
it, and both
But
teams
they're
are
the
actually
ones with priority
very
over the
even,
lane. What's
but I think
fascinating
SKT is a little bit
not
better
getting-
suited. They're going to have more control over their bot side, and they also have 2 stopwatches, which is huge. And Ryze, while he's strong right now, he gets much stronger later on. Same thing for Xayah. And earlier part of the game, so Renekton's still in a really good spot.
That vision just yet. They do not want to walk into the darkness. They're actually committing to a top lane play.
Looks like they just set their sights there instead. Apparently not worried about the Infernal quite yet. 1 minute and 16 seconds. Maybe knowing that they're weaker, willing to give that one up. As 4 members of the SKT lineup collapse on the bottom side.
SKT
Tier 1.
taking
Wonder if he
another
can do nothing
turret.
here. He just has to give this one up.
Yeah, this was quite a surprising play from G2 because the wave was already being pushed by Khan in the top lane. The fact that G2 don't answer suggests to me that they were worried about a potential dive on bot side and they did not think that they could defend it. Or they saw an opportunity top that just did not pay out. Either way, this is another advantage gained for SKT, and now they're sitting with a 2k gold lead.
And Perks doesn't even have teleport, so the fact that he's pushing up the top turret here is telling me that G2 is probably willing to concede the Infernal Drake for more gold onto Perks, which isn't typically the plays we see out of G2, but it looks like what they're going for now.
I think it could be because of the Renekton. Level 11, Tiamat completed, now has the Phage as well. Khan is very strong at this point in the game, and he got all of that gold from the turret plates. So maybe G2 is thinking, right, if we take a fight right now...
G2 just funneling the gold on Perks.
Yes, it's the first Infernal, but we get stronger later on into the
Not
game.
taking fights.
3 items. That's when we'll be in a better position. So let's not overforce anything for now.
They really want to dive. They really want to dive Khan, who's played this very patiently.
Just
He doesn't know
4-man
there's
dive top
4
side.
people here looking to kill him.
Faker STP, he can't make his way in.
SKT doesn't have a play set up to respawn.
The follow through, the dominance
Wow.
is not enough, and G2 will find the pick and set their sights on the tier 2.
Great play by G2, but where does it go from here? We got
So G2 felt like they couldn't take the team fight, and SKT just did not expect G2 to spend 4 people topside to get the dive on Khan. This gives G2 an avenue of play where they had no plays.
Click trying to finish the Infernal Drake, and SKT isn't in position to make any other play. So as far as conceding Infernal Drakes, that's about as good as you can do.
Now, where do they go next? Wonder in the mid lane. Looks like he's caught out for now. The Solar Flare comes in, but he manages to get the dash away. Rise coming into the mid lane. SKT.
I think this is like the kind of stuff that makes G2 really good. There's like just no teams in the world that would do something like that. Maybe there's teams in the world that would be like, oh, we can't contest this dragon. Let's push out lanes and try to maximize farm. But G2 to be like, okay, there's no way we can get dragon. Let's make a counterplay on top side with us doing a 4-man dive.
You're going to have to fight a fight at a man disadvantage. Faker's ult could be everything, but it looks like G2 will just pull back. Giving them that wide berth, though, giving them that respect, and it will be the Infernal for the tier 2 in the end.
Now, there was a lot of farm bot lane that just made its way into the turret that no one on the side of G2 picked up. But this was the first successful proactive play that we did see from G2. They attacked the strong side of the map with Khan. Admittedly, the rest of his team wasn't playing around him, but he considers himself pretty safe. You can see this vision on the minimap in the river. He's thinking, I should be okay. He is not expecting a 4-man dive here. To be fair, there's little he could have done outside of runaway.
It's an amazing cross-map play from G2. They had been out-pressured in the bottom river. They had been down in early turrets. They didn't have the power spike to take an Infernal Drake, yet now we look at the gold, and it's dead even for them. So full credit there to G2 for keeping this game dead even.
Yeah, and you have to say, if they had tried to force a team fight against Faker at this point in the game, when you have so many AoE ultimates, it could have gone against them. So to find a play that would work out, that would help them even the gold, is very well done.
I'll talk a little bit more about that play. Because it was unstandard, SKT responded badly to it. But when stuff like that becomes standard, then SKT can kind of read G2 and be like, okay, we'll put 3 people at Dragon, 1 person get ready to go help Khan. They are going to make the counterplay to dive topside. And then there's mind games being played. But when you're doing stuff that people don't expect, and when you're doing stuff that's a little bit outside the box and not really within people's playbook, it's really hard for people to respond properly. And it's really hard for people to adapt on the spot.
But while it is even, SKT still have double stopwatches, still have huge amounts of magic damage on their side. And if a single member of G2 gets caught out, if Perks gets caught out as the ulti is now forced, could mean the next fight in favor of SKT easy.
What I think is interesting to think about as well is scaling, because for G2, I think they actually have a very strong mid-game spike, but by Teddy going for the early Storm Razors, I feel that SKT could say the same for their composition as well.
SKT
just bullying down. G2 do not feel comfortable to match both their solo laners fanned out across the map to pick up CS.
And we see there from G2 the willingness
G2
to
still
concede
slowly
a mid-turn,
losing
and I
on the
think
map.
in that situation, it was the right call. Normally games around 18 minutes that are this low in kills and this even in gold get
They're going to
broken
try to
open by
switch
some
once Ryza and
big
Xayah hit certain
explosive
items, but
team
they're
fight
still
where
slowly
neither
losing on
team
the
is
map.
willing to concede something, and they clash. But what I noticed about watching G2, especially in their series against Damwon, is that fight rarely happened. G2 was very good about only trying to take fights on their terms, and they weren't necessarily team fights. They were picks, and you can see that's what they're doing now. They, instead of fighting at Infernal, which could have been close, maybe 60-40, a team like IG would have absolutely just fought at Infernal Drake and just see what happens. But G2 found the 4-on-1 and made it work. And there, they weren't willing to concede their mid turret because it would have been too high risk. But because they traded mid turret.
Who scales better?
Where will we see that fight is my question.
It's all about...
The scaling for this game is really weird because Nico actually scales pretty shitty. But she makes up for her scaling with like utility of the builds. And there comes a game, or there comes a point in the game where the utility doesn't matter anymore and people are just one-shotting. So like Nico on her 2-item power spike is actually really useful. The Frosty Fingers and the Ghost. And Kai'Sa's always a great scaler. She's going to scale infinitely. So will Xayah and Ryze. These champions both scale infinitely. Renekton drops off. Gragas is almost always relevant. It's pretty even, but I probably would up to lean G2, especially beyond 3 or 4 items.
Pressure. And what I love about these two teams and why I think they are both so good is they're just very smart.
Like 3 items kind
When
of
you play
even,
League
4
of
items
Legends,
G2,
depending on
5
how many
items
people you have
G2
on the map,
completely.
depending on how much pressure you have, depending on your composition, can often dictate areas of the map that do and don't belong to you. You'll hear analysts and casters refer to them as strong side, weak side. A great example was just there. Khan, in a 1v1, he's like, why do I have to be afraid of Wonder? But he recognizes that his team is nowhere near. So he has to respect that he's playing on the weak side and has to disengage. So he has to concede the tower. And both of these teams are very aware.
Yeah, no
of
Shojin
where
on
they have
Renekton is also a
pressure
big
when they're
thing
playing
regarding
towards
scaling
strong
too.
side. And right now, Caps is too far side on the weak side of the map that he's not
Ult out,
supposed to be
ult
in.
out.
Caps maybe not aware enough, but
Wow.
poured out. But SKT could be waiting. They will back
Good
off.
presence
Happy
of mine.
to just force the Realm Warp out, and we'll take the blue buff as well. So small advantage over to the side of SKT as they try to cede a little bit control on the bottom side of the map.
It's a very tense game. We're just about to hit 20 minutes in. Nothing explosive has happened. There's no been no major breakpoints for either side. We can see items are starting to come through. You're getting to that 2-item spike for many of these teams, and oftentimes, as Jack was saying, especially when you look at a team like IG, you would expect a fight to happen. But it's difficult to predict with these teams because they both want it on their terms, and someone has to break.
And we know when these teams played at MSI, the team that had the goal
Xayah 2 items,
was the team
Kai'Sa
that
2
won the game.
items.
Yes.
So we're saying the early
SKT
game
2
focused
thought
on
watches.
that.
Ryze
This
finally
one,
hit his 2-item power
technically,
spike.
SKT had a goal lead of
They
15
did.
minutes, but it was fleeting. By 16 and a half minutes, the goal lead was the same again. So I'm not willing to say that early game decided this one. What's going to decide it here, 20 minutes in, is who vision controls properly and who eventually finds the right picks that they can then turn into an objective.
And it's kind of exactly what you'd expect from a game one. Both opponents sizing each other up, looking for opportunities, looking for weaknesses to exploit.
It's the data game, you know? You're
Yeah.
just trying to gain
Game
data
one is
so you
just
can
data.
so you can download them for the rest of the series.
Is this Cloud Drake
Uh-oh.
the objective that neither
Hurts.
team is willing to give up?
SKT is a little bit behind in terms of coming on the map, but because they have Nico to be able to spot out for vision, and they have Leona who can check into anything, it's actually a lot easier for them to check into vision. Where on the other hand, where if G2 is ever behind on a setup, it's really hard for them to check into SKT because they don't have anyone tanky that can check into them. It's hard for Jankos to check in. Kled is usually going to be on the other side, and if Kled isn't on the other side, that means Renekton's pushing, so that's also bad for them. So yeah, this is kind of the difference in comps where SKT can check into stuff, and they don't really have to make a counterplay elsewhere, and G2, when they're behind on setup, they always have to make a counterplay, and it's really difficult for them.
You can download them for the rest of the series.
Is this Cloud Drake
Uh-oh.
the objective that neither
Hurts.
team is willing to give up?
Caught out. Faker going to find the
Good
snare.
start on
First has to be
Perks.
ready to burn the ult. The chain CC is there, but we'll just be forced to ult early. That's the defensive tool
Trading
on the side of Perks.
Leona
G2,
ult
are they
for
willing to take this
Xayah
fight?
ult.
Faker still has the Pop Blossom up and available.
So the biggest thing is that SKT actually have prio over mid. G2, I think the smartest thing for them is to actually disengage,
Push bot.
not gamble the fight, but Mickey is looking for a flank.
Teddy could go in at a moment's notice.
Perks is not there. He's pushing bot turret.
Oh,
Need to make their way out, but that ulti over the wall.
Oh.
Effort now coming in with the Zenith Blade. Mickey going to be in trouble, tries to charm up, uses Jankos as an escape path.
Perks is fucked in that
Perks
positioning.
now
Yeah.
caught out. Why is he there? Just trying to push, just trying to get priority, maybe hoping to get a solo kill, but Teddy just zooms in and down goes Perks.
Trying to create...
The moment we can try to pinpoint where G2 thought this fight was fucked.
Faker still has the Pop Blossom up and available.
So the biggest thing is that SKT actually have prio over
Ding.
mid. G2, I think the smartest thing for them is to actually disengage.
Here, I think this is where G2 gave up the fight. Perks is showing on the wave, and Kled started walking top side. this moment, G2 thought the fight is fucked.
Engage, not gamble the fight, but Mickey is looking for a flank.
Teddy could
They already gave up on the
Perks
fight.
is not there.
The only thing they were trying to do is kind of fuck with SKT. I wasn't sure how Perks planned to make it out from this. Perks probably decided that he's gonna draw someone in and die to turret, but they already decided the fight was over.
He's pushing bot turret.
need to make their way out, but that ulti over the wall effort now coming in with the Zenith Blade. Mickey going to be in trouble, tries to charm up, uses Yankos as an escape path. And Perks now caught out. Why is he there? Just trying to push, just trying to get priority, maybe hoping to get a solo kill, but Teddy just zooms in and down goes Perks.
Trying to create pressure off of burning his ult early, and the rest of G2 were unable to stop SKT from pulling
Thoughts on
through,
the
but
Leona flash?
ultimately, that is just
A little bit
one kill, and the
necessary
Perks
to
gonna
make
continue.
sure
SKT's
the
not in
fight
position
ends
to take
really
Cloud Drake.
quickly
The
and
bottom
like
wave
they
is
don't
in
waste
G2's
time.
side.
Like time is
Wonder got
so
mid
important
priority,
in
so this fight
professional play.
isn't done just because Perks died.
And Caps now goes in onto Faker, knows that he's been locked up. Good bit of damage there as Faker's now chasing. A lot of confidence comes in. Khan could just leap in. No Spear of Shojin yet, but still an absolute terror in the 1v1.
So where's Perks? He's now at 6
dead.
seconds. Thank you, Jack.
Teddy shredding through this one.
Going to be respawning soon, but as you rightly said, the play will continue. SKT will turn it into a Cloud Drake. A bit of an engage onto Mickey, but he's just going to dash out of that one. And
Watch Khan.
G2 is doing a really good job of staying in the
Rush.
game
Very
despite
fast, but
being
not fast
weaker on
enough.
the
Khan
map.
will be able to make it out, and Caps is getting scarier
That's
and
an
scarier. We talked about
incredibly
this
hard
game
thing to
right
do.
G2, that is 2 items
But they're
completed for
staying in the
Rise.
game while they
Of
have
course,
weaker
they do a
members
lot of
across the
utility, a
map
lot
and
of
they're getting
potential
pushed
AoE,
around.
but the Rise just has raw damage, and Caps
Woo!
is looking to put it down as Khan goes 6 feet under.
And finally for G2, they find a pick. This will definitely open up the map a little bit more for them because notice, Wonder is in the top lane. G2 are pressuring in mid, but they're actually going to use this as an opportunity to reset. They just want to push out the waves, go back to base, spend some of their gold, and more importantly, pick up those control wards so they can start getting a little bit more vision on the map.
And this game one is just so perfect based on our expectations in the series. I mean, they're 100 gold apart, 23 minutes into the game, and
One thing that gets so under talked about regarding G2 is how well they play from behind. I think G2 is the best when they play from behind. Like, there's so much other things to talk about regarding G2. Oh, how good is Caps at roaming? Oh, look at the amount of flexes they use. Oh, look at Perks playing all these non-AD carries bot lane. Oh, Perks is such a good leader. Oh, everyone on the team can carry. But one of the strongest parts about G2 is how well they play from behind and how well they understand pressure on the map too.
a player that I had my eyes on coming to this series was Khan.
I always said
Because
this, like,
in a
G2
lot of
plays their
ways,
best League of
he was
Legends when
having
they're
his
behind.
best international tournament yet.
There's teams that can
Throughout
snowball
group
like
stage and
G2.
throughout the quarterfinals. But if we look back to Khan's history,
Like,
with Long,
Fnatic
the 2017
has
World
done
Championship
such a good
all
job
part
of being a
quarterfinals. Some of
second
his MSI
G2.
performances
Like,
as
they've actually done such a good job of being
hasn't
like
been
a
there, and I think
shitty version of
SKT
G2,
to
where they
win a
copy some of their
World Championship,
playbooks. When Fnatic
Khan
gets
has to
Baron, when
play.
Fnatic gets the
He
lead,
can't have a
they're very
down
G2-esque,
performance
and so is
in a critical
FPX.
series. And so
But
far,
there's no other
Renekton
team that's
priority,
quite like G2
banning out
when
Blink,
G2 is
banning out
behind.
Ornn, taking away 2 of the things that are supposed to stop Renekton to still find himself down 0-2-0. He's got to find a way to do better, and G2's done a great job to attack him.
But the same is true for the opposite side. Perks and Mickey have not been able to find any advantage. Constantly, that ultimate from Perks forced out so early in fights, making him so much less of a threat. But Wonder and Caps are picking up the slack. They are barely...
Like, SKT's ahead on the map, and if they can decide where people are, then this kind of plays don't work. But when their Caps both have double TP, like going for this play off the kill they got earlier,
into the bottom side of the map.
they just know the correct answer with like the tools they
Now
have.
look at this very interesting map setup from G2. They actually have their AD carry
They're weaker
sitting
on the
in
map,
top
but they can
lane,
still pull off
catching
stuff
and
like
farming
this.
waves, while their 2 solo laners group in a single lane because G2 is saying, you cannot hold off both of us. We are
What are
some of the
SKT
power points at
strengths?
this point in the game.
One of the best
So
team
Perks can
fighting.
just sit aside
I think they're the
follow
best
that
team fighting
farm,
team.
Get more experience, get more gold. We're gonna use
Actually,
Jack
pretty
Cruz
comparable
and
with
Mickey
FPX,
to
but
catch
FPX will
them midway.
fuck
Sure,
their
we
draft
can't
just
gain
to make sure they have a
priority,
team
but it's
fighting comp.
fine. And it's these creative lane assignments that G2 often use
What
to
else from
create
SKT?
chaos in the mid game.
And strong members across the map.
For effort.
One of the best team fighting teams.
T, of course, now matching the Cloud Drake for G2, but the setup around the Baron has to be the next big thing. Khan, interestingly opting, it looks like, to go to the Titanic or potentially something else, as now Wonder is engaged on Unstoppable, but it might not be enough. Wonder on the retreat will be forced to flash away from the tangle on the side of Faker.
That was definitely a little odd.
Yep.
that
Ryze
Wonder
always
would
being
just
bot
kinda
side.
walk up to there.
A huge problem started for SKT. Ryze with 3 items, they have no one on the map that can beat Ryze one-on-one. They don't have anyone on the map that can beat Ryze one-on-one, so they are in 2 situations. They either have to send 2 people to Ryze to match the Rise or kill the Rise, or they either have to force the Baron and force G2 to respawn by porting the Rise over. Just only two this there. This is like now a ticking time bomb.
Surely he must be baiting, but then he ends up using ult and flash afterwards, and SKT is looking pretty heavily to at least force a TP because Caps is bottom lane, and SKT needs
they have to
that
force
break
this situation.
somehow. He's actually realm warping in. He's going to force SKT into doing something.
X flash over the wall.
They have to get the Baron started.
Breaking down the base.
Oh, if they don't, they have to send two people,
Yeah, they're not willing
and they're gonna
to
lose everything on
Great
Baron's
play by
side.
Caps.
Now G2 need to try and keep the G2 members, the SKT members rather, around so that Caps can freely split push.
This is a very strong Caps. If he takes the bait here, though, and goes in thinking it's Clid, Baker, though, just going to clear the wave. Knows that he can't go toe-to-toe with a level 15 Rise. 3 items in. The Rise is going to make him nigh impossible.
Now Wonder is able to sneak down bot side.
Falling behind G2 because
Oh, that's 2v1 play.
with the Rise. They're done with this play, though.
2v1 and they can port to Baron if they want. They can kill Nico and then double TP bit to Baron.
Perks is there. Baker could now be in trouble. Wonder and Caps, though, setting their
They can still double TP to Baron anytime.
If Yanko steals, it could
Oh wow, they're just gonna give? Okay.
Can you do it in the meantime? It's just going to be one. Will go down in the favor of SKT. The empowered recalls come out. It is the bot lane inhibitor traded for the Baron.
Oh, 2 people got left behind.
The game-defining fight. Yankos and Mickey, though, looking to stop these backs, looking to stop these recall. Caps, Wonder, both with TP up and available. But it looks like both sides will back away from the exchange.
Another just straight up trade. That was inhibitor for Baron. SKT handshaked on that one, yet I'm actually a little surprised Yankos didn't try something.
So the thing about this that's really bad trade, if it's a reverse trade, I think it actually would have been a really good trade for G2. But SKT is notoriously bad at using Baron. I don't think they're going to get much out of this Baron. So they're up 1k gold from this Baron power play. Let's see how much they get it up by. They spread into 3. They spread 1-3-1 and they maximize farm.
Regardless, though, that's still not a clear edge for either team with an inhibitor down on one side and the Baron buff in SKT.
So what I ultimately think it is it's risk versus reward. Yankos looks at that situation and says, if I attempt a steal and I fail, now my team has to spend
1-3-1, do nothing with
40
Baron.
seconds without me. And SKT have a Baron buff. What can they gain with having that numbers advantage? I don't want to run the gamble. We'll trade it for an inhibitor, we'll still have pressure on the map, and we'll keep 5 people alive. And again, you'll notice G2 sending their 2 solo laners up towards the top side to create this constant point of pressure that SKT cannot answer.
And no single member of SKT can walk alone into a lane. The threat of the long-range engage coming in from the Kled, of a Realm Warp from Rise, the sheer damage output of those 2 champions is massive. But in the meantime, SKT are racking up buffs. They've got a Cloud Drake. They get another Baron, and the question becomes, what can they do with it?
And what I find fascinating is how often SKT have just been trying to use their numbers to create pressure. Often you see them grouped as 4 because it's evident that, hey, we would like to fight you. Not only are they a great team-fighting team, but they have a comp that is suited for it as well. Their ability to dive, their ability to split G2 up can create a lot of chaos and difficulty for G2 to execute. And every single time we've seen G2 say, no, we're going to go somewhere else, we're going to avoid you. And the problem is SKT is getting split up. Even with a Baron, they have to send someone top to answer. Look at where the Rise is right now. He is halfway
The gold
down
gap's not
lane,
growing.
like,
It went from 1k to 1.2k with the Baron buff.
Going to be in trouble. Wonder knocked in the middle of the team, but we'll have the rebound to at least make him untargetable for a moment. Pocket pistol takes
Oof,
out the
okay.
stage, but
This
still
actually helps
will
with...
find the kill.
This is actually a problem
And they
now.
now have a Baron buff with the pick. That's a heal down onto Perks, but what more can they get? Because Caps, he's not going to stop splitting. You need to send at least 2 people to stop him, and that's what they've done, which means maybe G2 try 3v3. This is nuts.
Khan's going in, he's proc the dominance.
Khan, you can't win.
He might not even need it. The Conqueror is there. He's now running for his life.
Oh wow, you can win. Never mind. Wait, how did they lose that? That's actually so bad. How the fuck did Rise lose that?
2 people to stop him, and that's what they've done, which means maybe G2 try
2
3v3. This is nuts.
EW 2 okay.
The Conqueror is there. He's now running for his life. The Seraph's Clid now coming in. Caps going down. He will not get the tower.
No, what is it? Usually you want to do EWQ as soon as possible so you get the speed boost, but Caps delayed his second part of the Q.
Clid shuts him down alongside the chase from the SKT members. Khan comes in for a flank.
Yeah, and then Clid came in. That was also
waiting on
huge.
that control ward that is just sitting on next to the blue buff on the bot side. Beautiful stuff from SKT to at least relieve the split push pressure and secure themselves the mid tier 2.
Oh, Rat Life is really good on Rise. So here's the thing about Rise, like Rise scales so well even with like just defensive items, stuff like Rat Life, stuff like Righteous Glory. I feel like it's almost never worth it to build Rise in like pure damage. Like when you build Rise pure damage, you have this much damage and you have this much tankiness. But when you build Rise as tanky, you have like this much damage and you have like this much tankiness. You give up so much just to be pure damage as Rise, I feel like.
The inhibitor timer 2 minutes away. Dragon 3, a lot of big objectives coming soon. One big fight could decide the game, as we've been saying the entire game, but neither team looking to take the big fight. It is about the small exchanges, the small trades. In terms of gold, SKT for now are coming ahead.
Except in terms of buildings.
Also, Rally is really nice versus Renekton.
SKT. So we're in that really delicate
And
state
it
of
allows you to do
where
different
G2
combos.
find one pick
QEQ,
that can end the
WQ
game. If they
becomes way
actually
more
just catch a bunch
guaranteed
of
when you
SKT
have
in a squad
Rally.
and can disrupt recalls, they could theoretically get a Rise and a Kled to end the game, because he can also Realm Warp minions to the Nexus turrets after they have an inhibitor down. So even though Rise is capable of team fighting, since we've seen Caps farm up to about 13,000 gold now with 333 CS before 30 minutes, just an absurd amount of farm from all the sidelines he's been playing.
Okay, so there's people saying Ralife isn't good into Nico, Ralife isn't good into Kai'Sa, which is definitely true. Versus range champions, as a Right, you want Righteous Glory, right? But the role that Caps is playing, and the role that Caps knows he's going to play for near future, is not versus Nico, is not versus Kai'Sa. He's just going to be in the side lane versus Renekton. That's his goal, right? If G2's goal is to teamfight with the Rise, then he might build differently. But if G2's goal is to split push forever with the Rise, then Rise wants to itemize in a way where he can be the best versus Renekton and split push the best.
They don't have to, right? They have the option to, but with the open inhibitors and how this game has gone, I expect G2 to keep trying to split SKT up.
I also think that SKT's comp is just very strong in a 5v5, like with Faker's ultimate, with the front line that will be Khan, with the Klid ultimate as well, and you then have to take into account that Teddy, as far as team fighting goes, is probably one of the best team fighting, if not the best team fighting AD carry on the planet. So I think that...
Oh, that's a fast Faker. Nikos now has to back off. Glacial Augment will not be enough to catch him, but half respect. As you mentioned, the Tangle Barb is a 3-second route if Faker can connect on the empowered version. A lot of CC, a lot of easy follow-up for SKT if they can get a fight kicked off in their favor.
So now SKT have the Rise on the Baron. They do have the gold lead. The top laner has a clear item advantage. They're primed and poised to fight. I imagine that Teddy is very close to completing his next upgrade. He's sitting on the stopwatch, which means it could be a GA, but it could also be a Mercurial Scimitar, depending on what direction he wants to go for. But the point is that with it spawning in about a minute's time, with the control that they already have initially, this will be the next big objective that they want to force G2 into. And of course, G2 is going to say, okay, let's see if we can backdoor instead.
Yeah, where is Caps going to be and how well can SKT close down? Because if SKT send 2 people for Caps again,
SKT's
G2
biggest problem
need to
is the
have some kind of
Rise.
answer. Whether it's
And
Wonder
G2 wants to
coming
be
in,
creative
whether it's
with the
actually
Rise.
having more people there, or if it's G2.
G2's best play is like SKT sets up at Baron and they can sneak the Kled. If they can sneak the Kled all the way behind the Rise, kill whoever's defending here, force SKT 4 people, 1 people here, and then 2 people for G2, 3 people here. This is G2's most ideal situation.
Forcing a fight on the 3 remaining members of SKT that haven't gone for Caps, because even though they've been able to open up these inhibitors, the goal lead and the potential double Infernal, this game's going to be breaking soon.
Teddy now moving on to the bottom side. Realm Warp coming out, but Teddy doesn't have any CC, and that means Caps will be able to make no safety.
Oh, but the
now
collapse.
4 members.
Oh.
Caps has to be careful. Banshee's
Oh.
up. He's going to flash over the
Oh.
wall. Right there, beautiful play. He's going to go over.
Oh.
Teddy's going to fish for the 1v1, but Caps is going to try to take him down. Cut down the Kai'Sa's health bar, but the CC, the follow-up, and SKT
That's actually huge.
will kill
Killed
Caps.
Caps,
And he's
burned
like
that
the
flash.
Rainbows. It took everyone using their cooldowns to go and get him, but what does that open up?
Baron
Baron's up
time.
in 5 seconds.
No cap for
Multiple
50
ultimates were burned
seconds.
by SKT. G2
No cap for
has the
50
presence
seconds.
there, but
Just
what
start
can
the
you
Baron
They're gonna be
SKT.
able to spot out Jankos as well. They're not on the
Ah, it's spread on the map. No. Take advantage of the 4v5. Oh, holy shit. Actually taking advantage of the 4v5.
Meanwhile, they've got the Baker. Baker is gone, and this could be the fight that they're waiting for. Conjure over the wall.
Okay, never mind. Just be SKT and spread out and farm. Oh my god.
Ready to go in, but the ult has been burned. He's gonna have a
Fuck, that was such a crucial moment.
The last remaining damage source. Khan has been building tank. If they're gonna win a fight, it's gonna be the back of this Kai'Sa.
And G2 just have to wait 20 seconds so Caps can join. Then they are the ones that have the 5v4. By catching Faker, they
Oh,
can
that
round
4v5
G2
was so
advantage.
crucial.
I think G2 should just go straight back to
No,
the
they
Baron right now. They know that they're going to
Like,
have the numbers advantage.
Caps
very
is
soon.
so
They can
much of
force
the
this fight,
strength
but they're
of
not gonna
G2
take it.
in terms of like
Infernal is
the
what
role
they
he's
want.
playing right now, the champion he's on, and the gold that he has. It was so important they actually get the fight.
G2 have the man advantage where they can get pressure, they can get vision down, they can get ready for the fight. And the question is, do they back off, do they reset? Or is this the moment where they choose their arena? Is this Baron Pit where they will fight the game-deciding fight?
Oh, let's go.
G2 comp is like a lot of like utility boys, like a lot of like small boys and 2 big boys. Like Ryze and Xayah are the 2 big boys, and then they have like 3 like small boys.
Going straight on it.
So when one of the big boys die, it's really important SKT takes advantage of it.
Can they get Caps as well? They still see him. Here it comes.
Caps come. 7K.
X-Flash.
Wait.
Faker's gonna be on the backside. This pop possible will be massive if they can find it. That's a CZ. That's followed. Teddy into the backside. Faker now coming in. He's
It's so important to kill Perks and Caps. If they're not killing Perks and Caps, SKT loses the fight, yeah. They're killing all... Yeah, they were killing Wonder in the fight. There's no way they can win. They need to be able to kill Caps and Perks. Just re-look at the fight and re-look at like whoever's taking damage. It looks like SKT is winning because they're like, oh my god, they're doing so much damage, but the damage is going on Wonder, the damage is going on the wrong people. Just look at, yes, Mickey plays insane, but also look from SKT's point of view, they're hitting the wrong person.
7K. X-Flash over the wall. Effort now going to come in. Faker's going to be on the backside. This pop possible.
Yanko's taking damage. Perk's taking not 0 damage.
Pop possible only collect on 1, and Wonder is still living. G2 are coming out on top of the fight for now, but a beautiful body slam.
Perk's clinch flash. Woo! Wonder knocked out 2 people with charm.
And SKT have got nothing left in this game 1.
It took 34 minutes, but there was finally something.
Perks had his ult. Perks had QSS flash. Like, there's just no way to kill Perks and Caps. Or not Wonder, my bad. Mickey X with charm knockup.
G2 looking for the Nexus.
And it's over. They're killing the inhibitor. They're realm warping these minions close.
Woo! The realm warp's
to not let this Nexus kill them, and I think they're gonna end the game.
And after that, back
man, that was
blow
just
for blow,
so
the
well played.
knockout goes in favor of G2. The minions
Like,
moving in.
Perks and Caps know their exact role on the team, and so does Yankos, Mickey, and Wonder. In this comp, all they had to do is create space for Caps and Perks to do damage, and that's what they did.
What an intense game 1. Both teams playing at their highest level.
Wow. G2 really understands League of Legends on a different level. They understand team comps really well, like kind of the post-analysis that I can do and be like, oh, they have 3 small boys and 2 big boys. And long as the 2 big boys are doing damage, it's fine. Like for them to understand that and for them to like do it in game and not get overexcited when people like kind of misstep and like just really stick to like create space for the carries, carries don't overstep. When we're behind, be fine giving this up and make sure we keep split pushing. Like, they just understand League of Legends on a different level than other teams. Alright guys, let's get started with game 2. G2 actually showing a masterclass on how to play from behind. Don't take team fights you can't win, keep teams in an uncomfortable position. Identify what you have stronger than the enemy team. For G2, it was the Ryze, who was just extremely strong and got funneled a lot of gold. And they just kept waiting until they could actually get a proper team fight where they're stronger. G2 leading with the Leaf, man. Also, I hated what SKT did with Renekton last game. If they're gonna play like that with Renekton, I'd much rather they just ban Renek or don't even prioritize it.
Take it away, I know you have much more.
Stuff to catch up on. G2 had side selected. They chose blue side. When we think about what happened in the first draft,
ban.
I'm going to make up a term, call them draft bucks. SKT spent all their draft bucks on getting Renekton early on in the phase, and G2 used their draft bucks on Ryze and Xayah. The Ryze and Xayah worked out way better than the Renekton.
Way better.
Strategy from SKT for this draft.
Interesting. I'm thinking if G2 now look to ban away the Renekton. No, they're going for the Kai'Sa ban.
Oh, okay, Caps dad.
Does this mean Renekton first pick for G2, or do they go, you know what?
Fall through.
It's got to be Ryze first pick. It has to be
Kai'Sa ban.
Pick, surely. Like,
when they ban Kai'Sa like this, they're daring SKT to leave open both Xayah and Ryze. I think SKT should leave open Xayah, Ryze, Kai'Sa, or Xayah, Ryze, Gragas, and they should give 1 to G2 and take the other 2. Zaya, Rides, Gragas, and split 1-2 anyways. What should they ban? They should ban something that G2 plays that they don't play at all. What's something G2 plays that SKT doesn't play at all? Like a Syndra or a Yasuo. A Syndra or Yasuo. And then like, yeah, Zaya first pick, Gragas. What did I say? Gragas plus, holy. What did I say? I said a certain champion. Zaya, Gragas, Rides.
This pick is just too good for G2 because of how they can easily flex it between mid and top and how versatile
Oh,
it is.
wow.
now.
Now they're going to just trade Gragas Rides.
The only way it wouldn't be a Rise first pick is if the Zaya was...
I actually think that's trolling from SKT. Why? If you leave open Zaya, they get Zaya, you get Rise Gragas. Why wouldn't you take
They
that?
had to pick between the
Yeah,
two.
you're right.
But in a sense, SKT kind of made it easy on them, and they get it for the second game in a row.
And the question is, how do SK Telecom respond to this pick?
Oh,
They wanna give Renekton upset matches, they will be forced
you
to
can't.
lock it in here. But what do they do?
I also think Renekton is a really bad pick versus G2. Or Renekton specifically is a really bad pick versus G2 and a really bad pick versus Rise. Because the whole thing about Rise is you're diving people, right? And the whole thing about Renekton is you're also diving people. If Rise is able to get control mid lane and always move, then Renekton can't dive people as smoothly as he wants to. So whenever this split happens where one side gets Rise and the one side gets Renekton, I think it's really bad for the Renekton side.
Do against the Rise? Because while Khan had a solid laning phase, decent pressure, he wasn't able to turn it into anything greater. And in the side lane, mid to late game, he kept getting caught out. Could not match what the Rise and the Kled were looking to get done.
I think that overall, Khan was fine. He was just in a situation where he had to match the Rise, and every now and then he would get caught out. But he still only had like a 0-2-0 scoreline, so I do not think that his Renekton was underwhelming. I just think that SKT never had an opportunity to fully utilize what Renekton
Syndra,
was
Cassio are
doing.
probably the two most traditional picks
And
into
once again,
Rise.
back to
And then you can
draft
start
bucks.
adding in
I think
stuff
we
like
gotta find a more
Veigar.
serious name draft bucks.
I
It's a
think
little
it's
too
perfect.
monopoly
I think it's
money.
perfect as well.
All right.
It's clearly
I've
not
been overruled.
real bucks.
So now I'm thinking G2, do they go Varus, Tahm Kench, or do they just go for the... Oh, no,
Oh,
they go
Ornn.
straight for the Ornn. Right, so we're going much more towards a team fight style of play.
Why did they feel the need to draft Ornn this game? Because they just picked Kled last time. Interesting adaptation.
This game, we had a very low CKPM, Jet. I believe you have the numbers
Yes.
for that
Then
as well.
G2 technically
The
has 3
combined total per
champions
minute
they
last
can
game
play
was
into Renekton, right?
0.52.
Quinn,
To put that
Ornn,
number in
Renekton, or
perspective,
Quinn,
the
Ornn,
summer split
Kled,
combined kills
they
per
can
minute
play
for
3.
G2
Quinn,
was
Ornn, Kled.
1.14, more than double. So if I would have asked you guys before the World Championship if a combined kill per minute of 0.52 in a G2 SKT game who would
Ezreal.
win, maybe you wouldn't have said G2, but it is G2 that won a low kill game. Doesn't make it a slow game, but it was.
I'm pretty sure if SKT didn't take Gragas, G2 does Gragas Zaya here. Or not Gragas Zaya, holy shit, I'm throwing Gragas Yasuo.
Is impressive.
And what I think is great about that stat is coming into this game, I'm expecting it to be higher. Because when you're drafting the Ornn, you're saying that we are ready to fight and we're ready to get into the
I actually
thing.
think Ezreal as a
Wonder if
third
we
is
get
really
Yasuo
bad.
and Braum were the two picks that I was thinking of
yes.
to answer the Ornn because of
Gragas
how
Yasuo
great
into
the
Ezreal.
wall and
I think there's better thirds like Varus, or even like just playing non-meta like bot laners. It's better than taking Ezreal.
Shieldar for dealing with his ultimate.
Yasuo into
Response
Ornn
from
also.
Faker,
Actually,
and
this
I
was
imagine
such a good
we're
pick
going
from
to see him
SKT.
mid, but
Yasuo
it
into
could also
Ezreal,
be in the
Yasuo
bot
into
lane as
Ornn.
well.
And I've seen Faker playing everything to counter Yasuo and solo.
And
queue.
this early
Yasuo
Ornn pick is
himself.
actually
I'm
so fucking
excited to see
troll.
what he can do on this champion if it does not go into the hands of Teddy on the bottom side. Regardless, they will need a mid laner or they will need an AD carry. They know that they're going toe-to-toe with Percy,
Yasuo into
Ezreal,
Ornn.
and a mystery support. But SK Telecom's
That
plans
Ornn
right
early.
now
Ugh,
remain
you have
focused on
Kled,
the top. They know
Ornn,
what
Quinn,
Jankos
3
can bring
things
to
you
the
could have
table
played.
since they have already locked in the Gragas for themselves.
And I actually really like the Cinder ban from G2 because they know that this is not a static SKT team. This is a flexible SKT team that can put the Gragas Yasuo bottom if they so choose. And they know...
So when your Ornn is your solo laner, and his ultimate can get denied super easily by Yasuo, Windwall, he's actually a really shitty champion. So like, when Ornn and Yasuo were both in the meta, adaptation that people started making was flexing Ornn to support. So that's something G2 can do, and that's something Dom1 did earlier in the tournament.
that SKT do need to probably fit in another magic damage dealer. So the Cinder would have been the best in that situation.
Or in solo
and it's a
lane
good
versus
pick.
Yasuo is a
That
nightmare.
will now be the follow-up. Something that Yanko saw pretty solid success on earlier. What will the final ban from G2 be? Where do they think the Yasuo is going? This is a game that they're usually not playing. Usually that's
Olaf
the
Rek'Sai.
opposite team trying to figure it out. But they've been here before.
Kale
They've
banned
against
for
Damwon.
G2.
They did just
Why Kale?
obliterate Gragas Yasuo when Damwon played at bottom lane. We can get into that if that is what ends up happening here. But
Such
we're
a
gonna
weird
find out
ban.
where Gragas Yasuo is going soon.
Well, with the
Lee.
lock-in of the league,
Now that's
we don't
Gragas.
know where the
Now that's Gragas Yasuo
is
bot
going.
lane for sure.
The biggest surprise to me is the fact
Jarvan,
that G2 actually
Galio.
locked in the
Wow. This I love. I love the Jarvan Galio as a duo. It's something TL used a lot. I think that's the second best engage, or the third best engage in the meta. I think Gragas is the best engage, after that Rakan, and after that I love the Jarvan Galio system. It's not as a guaranteed of engage, but you can play versus flashes, and it allows you to get like big AoE giant zone controls.
Wow, without hesitation. And I'm going to say the same thing I said in the Damwon series.
Wow, LCS really
If you're
innovated
going to
and led the
draft
tournament
Yasuo Gragas
in terms of team
against
comps.
anyone, you've got to be
Jarvan
damn
Galio,
confident to do it
now
against
G2
Rose
picking
and
it up
Mickey,
from
because
TL,
this is their
Kiana
bread
Rumble,
and butter. And the way
FTX
in which they
picking it up from
immediately
Clutch.
locked in the Galio suggests to me they have an answer, they know what they're going to do, they're ready for it.
And I'm just curious to see where everything's going to go outside of Ezreal.
Wow,
as an
this one's super weird for me. LeBlanc into Ryze. Because normally it's the other way around. You're taking Ryze into LeBlanc. The only reason they're taking LeBlanc into Ryze is we're gonna fucking kill this fucker with LeBlanc Lee combo. And that's gonna be the core of SKT's draft. Now the Renekton pick becomes just like you stay on an island, do nothing. We're gonna play around mid jungle much as possible.
carry. And Jarvan is a jungler. I'm not entirely confident with the rest of the picks, but it will be the LeBlanc now locked in for Faker in the mid lane, looking to match the rise of Caps. This is going to be, once again, another crazy game, another game of huge draft adaptations.
I mean, you want to talk about the OGs, the comfort picks. Faker is worldwide known for his LeBlanc. Leading into the MSI finals, he was back in 2015, he was undefeated on this champion. He has an incredible record on it, and now he's going back to it up against Caps' Rise, and it's something that in a side lane should be.
Remember when we talked about
better
LeBlanc
against
earlier?
Rise.
And
LeBlanc has to
speaking
pay
of
so
side
much
lanes and
to have a
team
dash
fighting,
and
that's
a
what
root.
G2 has
So
brought.
she has
The
incredibly
Jarvan
strong
Galio
early
is
game
the icing
and
on the
gank
cake
setup,
of what they already were
but
trying
she
to
has
do with
very
Ornn
weak
initiation. The Ornn
late game.
initiation
And her mid
could be
game's
countered
also
by the Yasuo
very
windfall
dependent
that
on how
is
ahead she is.
Close-ish to a hard counter. That's why they're just stacking more and more initiation on top of it if they want to be able to force fights.
Look, you just put him in the Cataclysm, you ult him with the Galio, you never have to worry about the Ornn ult, you kill the Yasuo first, then you use it. G2 Esports clearly with a blueprint for success, but once again, they have to respect Con and the Renekton. They have to respect Klid's Lee Sin. We have to see what Teddy and Effort.
LeBlanc into
get
Ryze
done
is
on
a
this
statement.
Yasuo Gragas bot lane.
We talk a lot about these two mid laners.
LeBlanc
and
into
the roles.
Ryze
I think
is,
for Faker,
I feel
because he's playing
confident
a lot,
I can
he's gonna
blow you
have
up
more
mid.
control in this early matchup. I imagine he's going to be looking to roam
Like,
actually up
think of a
towards
draft
top
as
side,
like a
which could
conversation
give G2
between
an avenue
teams.
to hard play through bot.
And this is
Mid lane, again,
SKT
is gonna be
saying,
very important. Playing around their side lane
do what
because
you want.
when G2
We're gonna,
played up
we have
against
Faker,
Damwon's
we have
Yasuo
Klid.
Gragas
We're gonna
bot
blow
lane,
you,
they
blow you
hard
up in
camped
mid
that
lane.
lane. Will SKT let that happen again, or will they shut it down?
And everyone in the Policia Vista Alegre, whether they're rooting for SKT or G2, is looking for 5 games. So the question is, can SKT fight back? And I think they've got the tools to do it. Faker, 25-6 on LeBlanc. Undefeated domestically on this champion. Yes, he dropped a game at MSI, but and the LCK has not found a loss. We'll see if it is the case here as we move into our second game. Who will find the edge in the early game?
Now, personally, I'm a really big fan of SKT's comp. I think they have a really strong and easy side of the map to play around. I think Klid is a phenomenal Lee Sin player, and I think that if he just easily leverages the pressure that he will have in top lane and
If nothing happens for
very
15
easy for
minutes,
SKT
it's
to
0-0-0,
try and shut
G2
Yankos
wins the
down,
game.
especially in the early game. My
If
big
SKT
question
gets
mark
ahead
is
mid
how
and
will they
jungle,
play
then
and
SKT
defend
wins the
around
game.
bot side? We were already talking about it before.
G2 just needs huge focus on not letting the Ryze get blown up by
Will G2
LeBlanc,
look
or
for an
yeah,
early
by
dive?
LeBlanc.
Because I imagine they're not just going to let Teddy and Effort free farm in this 2v2.
But if the game does break into the mid game with G2 at good gold, it's so interesting. When I was looking at the champions on G2 side, I'm thinking, man, this is comp they could really run over the game with if they start getting a lead, because you wouldn't be able to stop them from fighting. So going to be very interesting to watch if they were spotted on this 3-man invade.
Potential 3v3, 4v3 as Faker starts to move in. G2
So-
have been caught out. Mickey stepping forward.
When G2's doing this, they want to split the map. G2 invaded because they wanted to split the map. They wanted to split the map this way, so Rise can always play it to this side, and LeBlanc can play it to that side. And Lee Sin is very likely to start red. A lot of time, Lee will even skip blue, Lee will even skip blue. Do you guys remember the rush pathing where you jungle without doing blue on Lee Sin? Because it's so ineffective, and blue buff doesn't matter that much. So they didn't expect SKT to respawn, and they just thought SKT would split the map and not respond to like the level 1 they're doing.
3-man invade.
Potential 3v3, 4v3 as Faker starts to move in. G2 have been caught out. Mickey stepping forward, the body slam over the wall.
Clit
Tom
going
is
on
to come in, though.
Jarvan.
Effort will be pulled back. Effort, I think, is going to go down for first blood. That's not
Oh.
what they wanted. First
Effort
blood
actually
goes
gave
out.
up first
Yanko's
blood.
trying to make his way out. Conqueror now. Proc is going to blast go out the flash away, but Faker is there. Wants
Ignite.
to get the damage down.
Yeah,
and
there
that's
we
going to
go.
be at the kick. Faker will secure a kill in return.
So support for jungler and a little bit more gold.
This is better for SKT. Even though G2 got first blood, they got it on Galio and their jungler died. Jungler dying in first blood situation is huge. And also, I kind of want to talk about this draft a little bit more. Do you know there's one other team that did this draft? There's one other team that did the Renekton Lee LeBlanc draft, the top 5-3. Damwon did this draft before. And when they were running this, they were running LeBlanc with teleport, and I fucking hated it because the core of this draft is LeBlanc Lee playing really well together in the 2v2. So it's really good to see SKT adapt and keep the LeBlanc running Ignite and not LeBlanc with TP. I think LeBlanc with TP is garbage. That champion is so dependent on the 2v2. Never run TP.
Gold onto the Galio and a little bit less onto Faker. Even though G2 gets more gold, that has to be good for SKT. Getting the first kill onto Faker and delaying Jankos' jungle start. Not only did he flash, he used Smite to try and stay alive. We'll put him behind in this game.
Yeah, I completely agree with you, Jack. I think that the fact that Jankos fell down means that he is going to be very late to his first camp. Jarvan doesn't even have the strongest early clear, and the biggest issue for G2 in making this early
They
play
checked
is
that brush and they were
did
like,
not
oh, no one's
have
here.
the early sweeper. Jankos did what he did
They
best.
just did
He
not
invested the early ward
even
and
consider
tried
that
it
they
later.
might come from
Now
that
we see more
side.
action in mid.
Caps. Now it's retreat. Level 2's coming in. The chain has
Oh.
Caps forced to flash to safety, but Jankos is here in the darkness. Level 2 now coming in.
Does SKT
They know
follow
he's
it?
here. They know
Flag and
he's
drag,
here.
Flag and drag, that's all it's going to take. Jankos looking to body block. Will not get anything else. So close.
The Flag and Drag was likely on cooldown because Jankos was actually level 1 clearing that buff, but that was a close one, getting flash out of Caps.
So we're already seeing way more action in the early game than what we saw before. A lot of it was actually incited by G2's early invade, with which SKT reacted to accordingly, but we're getting to see the early power of this Lee Sin paired
So
up.
people are saying bullshit chain. I'm just going to explain to people once so people learn, and that's going to be it. When you have a champion and they shoot a skill shot, there's something called lollipopping. So this is the normal hitbox of the skill shot, but at the end, it'll make a small circle around the skill shot. And if you're in that small circle, then you'll get hit. It's called lollipopping. It makes skill shots like latch onto you, and that's why like you get crazy thresh hooks or crazy Nautilus hooks or crazy LeBlanc chain because of lollipopping at the very end.
With the LeBlanc as well. The chain setup is very potent, especially if there's no flash against the opposing mid lane.
And important to look at this bottom lane because in the last time we saw a G2 play against it, they were able to dive on this specific wave. But Jankos is
I'm not saying it's good, I'm not
because of
saying
what
it's
happened,
bad.
and
I'm
they're
telling you guys
unlikely
what
to be able to make a
lollipopping is.
play right now,
And
even
it's just
if
part of the game.
Jankos is in river.
Does mean that Jankos will secure the Scuttle Crab. And I think important to note, the breakneck
Wait a
pace
minute.
of this game.
Wait a minute.
Try. He's
Very
level
risky.
2.
No,
Body
they're
slam
not
could
gonna do
interrupt.
this.
Tornado is prepped.
They can't. They can't. It's too risky. The wave just isn't there. The enemy minion wave is... What am I talking about? It's G2 Esports.
They're
Of
level
course they're going
3.
to gamble it.
Jankos only level 2. Mickey can leap in.
Oh, Jankos got level 3 as well. Are they really
Yeah.
going to try and force this?
Remember what G2 did to... Who did they do to? Oh, they did it to Damwon, where they recognized Gragas Yasuo aren't real champions until they're like level 3 at the very least. So they stacked up waves and dope, but SKT playing against it well, and also G2 got kind of messed up in the first part of the game, so they can't repeat the same dive they did versus Damwon.
Perks very low. Can't just
If
rain
Mickey
down
can
damage
get the
from afar.
aftershock proc, they can tank for a while.
No, not happening.
Good bit of poke coming in.
Yeah,
Zip
level
off
3,
is
not
not
happening.
So, this was overall a massive loss for G2 because in the meantime, Clid was stealing away the enemy blue buff. So he's going to take that away from Jankos, who's already behind in terms of his early clear. Caps cannot roam down as well because, again, as we talked about in the draft, Faker will have pressure in the early game. So SKT are leveraging where they have pressure on the map. They're playing safe, and so far, while the bot lane is behind, this Yasuo has at the very least avoided an early dive.
Wow, double taunt, really good from Mickey. It's actually so hard to win the trade versus Yasuo Gragas, but Mickey got double taunt.
I think important, you already brought it up. The last game was slow, it was controlled, it was steady. But with a Yasuo, with a Gragas, with a Lee Sin, you have to feel like level 6, and we are going to see a very explosive pace of game.
Now, what I want to note is on the minimap, you'll see this very small ward that has been thrown into the enemy jungle. This is what Khan loves to do with his pressure. When he pushes in, rather than just put a ward where you can see from Wonder just in the river, he likes to get deep wards in. He likes to know where the enemy jungler is and what he's up to. And now he's just got vision on Caps. He's soon going to get vision on Jankos.
Oof.
And this enables Clid to
G2 is better back.
SKT
trying to catch up fast as possible.
that's a good call.
Luckily, it's
We're gonna
Yasuo
need to track
Gragas.
whether or not
Yasuo
we can
Gragas
get something done
incredibly good at
specifically
clearing
in that
waves when
mid
they're
lane.
left
They know
alone.
They got Caps' flash down on Rise, and if they can actually get Faker's LeBlanc significantly
That game sense
ahead
from
of
Perks
Rise,
to be able to
they
check
would
the
have a
brush,
chance
and
of
now he can
stopping
counter delay
that
the...
Rise monster
This is so
push that
good.
ended up
Perks being
being
able
one
to
of the
counter
biggest
delay
reasons
people with
G2 won
recall.
the first game.
Now we can see Mickey on the roam once
He
again.
fucks their
He's
tempo
hanging
so
around
hard
mid lane.
there.
He will be spotted out by Clid once again, though, and this is why it was important to note that Perks was delaying the backs from Teddy in effort to give Mickey the freedom to move up towards mid, but importantly, it gives Caps the opportunity to push out this wave and relieve some of the pressure from
Oh,
Huge trade in favor of
forcing
Caps
him
there.
back out of Faker soon
Not
now.
wanting to burn any of his mobility there, and will cost him a decent amount of health. Of course, last stack of the Corrupting Pot does not have TP, has the Ignite.
Oh!
Mickey.
Oh.
Steal.
Little plays like that to build up the
Stealing
overall
Gromp.
pressure of SKT. That delays Clid's level 6. It means his gank might not be ready before Caps is also level 6. All of
This buy is super important for Faker. He got the initial kill gold. He has 51 CS. He hasn't been able to recall yet. Cass recalled. He used almost all his mana, so he's going to push and recall, and he's at 36 CS. This is going to be a state of the game where Faker's much stronger than Caps, and it's right off level 6 too.
all of these things that G2 is doing, including crashing the wave, including interrupting the recalls, their pressure is building up a little bit, and you can see it with the 500 gold lead.
Wonder, TPing right back into top lane, getting more aggressive, early armor, obviously very easy for him to itemize against this Renekton and Nap.
Faker could have been a way aggressive, like boots plus Dark Seal and Blasting Wand. That's something like a more aggressive player would opt into, but no Dark Seal and going for Lost Chapter instead.
Path for him already to get that Iceborne Gauntlet. And on the bottom side, Perks and Mickey continue to be confident to step forward, knowing Clid is on the top side of the map for now. Level 6, though, I think, is where this lane might just shift away. Body slam in, trying to extend the trade.
Aftershock Galio,
As you
can't
get a few
trade.
more levels in the Yasuo, it gets much easier to collect all of the CS once it hits turrets, so I don't expect this CS lead to advance too much further. Very easy, as you can see, for Teddy to get every single CS that crashed there, and the lane is kind of neutralized at this point until they hit 6 or until they get ganked.
What I do like about the Galio pick into this matchup is typically, especially around level 4, 5, and even 6, SKT could look for an all-in, but Galio makes it very hard because of the taunt that he does
They're in
bring. Now
danger.
we see
They
Jungler
haven't been
hanging around
spotted.
bots.
They're now stepping in. Jankos is on the way. The taunt is going to connect on both. The Flag and Drag comes through, and Teddy now has to run for the
The
hill.
double
dash
taunt is
through.
huge.
Tornado can buy him a bit of time as he retreats. The rest of the team now collapsing. They're only going to be able to grab one, but a clean play from G2.
Man, that's so good.
Flag and Drag.
Now we see
They
Jungler
haven't been
hanging around
spotted.
bots.
They're now stepping in. Jankos is on the...
If it's not double taunt, then Teddy can block damage for Gragas with the wind wall, but because it's
away.
double
The taunt is
taunt,
going to connect on...
like Teddy got blown up immediately. He probably still dies because Jarvan's landing EQ on top of the taunt, but Teddy getting the wind wall and denying perks is like a big part of like Yasuo Gragas lane being so good. You can protect each other.
Both the Flag and Drag comes through, and Teddy now has to run for the hills. The dash through. The Tornado can buy him a bit of time as he retreats. The rest of the team now collapsing. They're only going to be able to grab one, but a clean play from G2.
And Jankos was just laying in wait. They'd accumulated some of that pressure earlier by delaying recalls, by getting the Gromp steal, and they convert it with that kill, but SKT goes straight back for the Drake.
Ocean Drake,
Come up
huge
the wall.
early.
Caps checks.
Fucking huge
Fake can set
early.
it up. Chains come out. Khan, is he willing to flash under tower to try to secure this one? Caps trying to make his way out.
Wow,
Chains
this
will
kill's
not
so
happen.
big
That's gonna be
too.
a kill, but the dragon has been stolen away. Clean.
Dragon Steel also really big for G2, but the kill mid is the really important thing here.
Open caps checks.
Fake can set it up. Chains come out. Khan, is he willing to flash under tower to try to secure this one? Caps trying to make his way out safe.
The only good thing for G2 there is Caps didn't burn his flash when he died.
But it will not happen. That's going to be the kill. But the dragon has been stolen away. Clean play coming in from Jankos. Blow for blow being matched.
He had to
So
flash
trades
Faker's
keep
chain
coming in from
to live.
both sides. I'm a big fan of this roam down from Khan. He didn't have his teleport, but neither did Wonder. So the fact that he sacrificed priority top to be able to move and join his team, enabled SKT to find a kill onto Caps. But because Faker was mid lane, it ended up giving Jankos the opportunity to go for a 50-50 smite, which he ends up stealing.
Watching this gank one more time, it was pretty much all about patience. It was a faked recall by G2. The cast didn't give vision. They say, okay, let's
Playing
clear
to
this wave and
push.
reset. Nope, can't do that.
Oh, double
Very
taunt.
easy kill picked up onto effort.
Yeah, flawless chaining the CC, and this is something that we've seen G2
The
before.
steal.
So this is the important thing. Note that it's 3
Perks
versus 2,
ult,
even though Perks is
Jankos
not directly there. he has the
EQ
ultimate available.
smite.
Because Faker moved mid to find that kill, yes, this LeBlanc is now going to be that much stronger, which is still great for SKT, or rather Khan is going to pick up that kill. Either way, advantage gain there for SKT. The loss of this Drake is definitely not something that they wanted to give away as well.
For now,
Core of
G2 holding on to the
SKT's
small
comp is still
gold lead.
going, which is
After a
LeBlanc Lee.
disastrous level 1 where they gave a lot
That's
of
their
gold
biggest
away,
hope.
things seem to be
LeBlanc Lee,
balancing out.
LeBlanc
Keep our
Lee.
eyes on the
Keep their
mid lane,
focus on
however.
that.
Itemization for Caps not going to be as potent as this early Luden's Echo from Faker when he does complete it. Only 9 minutes, a little bit away. But Khan, Wonder still going toe-to-toe. I feel like top lane's an island this game. I don't think we're going to see as much there.
Yeah, I agree with you, Dracos. And you mentioned the gold a little bit earlier. Ooh, Faker now roaming. We'll get back to that in a
I
second.
did just caster curse it. This is not an island. Jankos is here, and Jankos is very vulnerable. Faker does he want to
Good
commit any more
chunk.
resources to this play. Chipping away. We'll just back off. Jankos chunk, but nothing else going to happen.
And even if Faker has been able to get a few chunks down onto Jankos, the side lanes for G2 are still in a beneficial state. I think that Ocean Drake steal is very impactful,
Yeah, it's
especially as
huge
this Ornn versus
in terms of
Renekton lane
laning.
continues. Like if Renekton is going to win that Ornn lane, it's even less likely to happen with the Ocean Drake keeping Ornn healthy all the time, because no way Khan kills him in one all-in. It would be a series of trades that stack up over time.
Yeah, I like that you mentioned that, Jet, because when we look at the gold dispersion, you can see that Wonder is only like 200 behind in top lane,
Yeah.
but Perks has a massive advantage in bot. All of the gold sits in the mid lane for SKT, which means that there's a reliance on Faker being able to move that gold around the map. And right now, he's looking to do it, as he has his eyes set on Jankos.
Chains will connect on Jankos. Jankos locked up. The follow-up is there. Clid looking to finish this one off. The ultimate come out. You can use the unstoppable flash away to safety. Faker goes in. He gets the auto.
Nice.
But Clid will burn him down with the red buff.
SKT did expend a lot for that, though, as G2's looking for more.
Caps now coming in. The taunt will be able to
Oh.
connect, but the knockback is there. Clid get by the
Damn,
taunt.
effort
Trying to
outplayed
delete
Perks
Faker, but
so
Faker
hard
goes
there.
invisible. Realm Warp now coming out. Caps looking
Renekton
for the
coming in
footwork
first.
will take him out to safety, but Mickey
Galio,
has to run for the
had to
hills.
burn
Justice
flash.
Punch will get him away.
And a massive team fight win here for SKT. Khan with another good roam to force Caps to use his ultimate, but this was a situation where
SKT
Jankos
getting
did not
lead
have
for where
cooldown.
it's really
Faker
important,
using the
Lee and
pressure
the
that we
LeBlanc.
wanted to see him
That's the
have.
only thing that's going to
Find
keep
the
them
pick,
alive in the
which
game.
converts into another kill onto Perks, and now SKT are starting to claim control over the gold lead.
And all of that was while Teddy was bottom lane. So they're going to convert plate gold onto the Yasuo as well. So while G2 had been kind of holding on with the overall pressure, if Faker and Clid can now get in there and start transferring this 2v2 power throughout the rest of the map, that would be SKT's path to victory.
And as we look back at this play, you can see Jankos.
They know he
very
doesn't have
cautious
EQ,
with the amount of mobility
WR,
present
chain.
on a LeBlanc and a Lee Sin. Just means you can.
This is where lollipopping is actually relevant.
Mobility.
Oops. Oh my god. Oh my god. I pressed something and then it took me to another game. Okay, here, perfect. Just watch this in slow-mo. I'll show you guys where lollipopping is relevant. This one isn't that bad, like, but you can see how the chains were here and then it clicks to there because of the hitbox being bigger, and then Jarvan hitbox is like this, and then the hitbox overlap. This wasn't like a super bad, like, it wasn't one of those cases where lollipopping is like,
Just means you
bullshitty, but you can see a little bit of it there.
Well, it does give Jankos information, ultimately costing him his life because he cannot flag and drag out to safety.
And the important thing here is that G2 think they can now get a pretty good
Hurts
collapse.
Eden.
A great ultimate from Effort just before he gets taunted means that Clid can actually just blow up the Ezreal, who at this point in the game is very squishy, and a lot of summoner spells being forced out there from G2. So we talked about how SKT do have a draft that is that much stronger in the early game, and in game 1, G2 did a great job of avoiding these fights, but this time around with Faker...
Oh my god.
Over the wall, Clid! Wow!
What the fuck?
This time around with Faker on the LeBlanc.
Kick over the wall, Clid! Wow! Putting on a Lee Sin clinic as Perks goes down.
Jesus. That was so clean.
To react at all, the CC chain comes through from SKT.
And this was the early game presence that we were talking about. G2 don't get to slow the game down this time around. SKT utilizing their pressure much more effectively, finding these picks, finding these kills, and gaining a much solid early game advantage.
And this is why we talked about Clid when we prepped for this series. What he can get done when he finds advantages. You can see how incredible his stats are.
But what does Caps do if mid lane goes awry? You just leave. You go elsewhere.
First blood participation, 70%.
Caps has kind of disappeared into the jungle. Let's see if he can make a play.
What a G.
He catches Clid.
Clid will be locked up. Galio on the way in two. They're going to lock Clid and everything. That's a little bit of revenge for Perks in the jungle.
Caps has this
little bit of overspending
sense to go to the right spot. Who else in the world does that? Where you just loop around the jungler's raptors, giving up mid priority, but it gets them the shutdown onto Clid, it gets them control top lane, it gets them control back of mid, and it keeps them in this game.
And the cost is that Yasuo is getting so much on the bottom side, but if Perks and Mickey do not go down here...
Oh, that block from Faker.
Taunt goes in, that's big damage.
Block the Galio from taunting. Oh, so good.
Taken down. Perks with plenty of mana, though. Where's the ulti?
First item Luden on LeBlanc,
like,
and she's in a really nice spot, 3-0.
The skirmishing is
the core of SKT comp still stays alive. LeBlanc Lee ahead.
In the early game, we have to come back to the Yasuo in the bot lane has had a free laning phase. He fell behind initially at the start, but now he's caught up in farm with Perks. He is level 8. He is getting to those item spikes on the Yasuo, and they even secured first tower in the bot lane. Faker is 3-0-2 on this LeBlanc. So everything that SKT wanted to happen in the early game has now happened.
And now with a Mountain Drake backing them up as well, it's going to make the side lane threat, if left alone near those towers, even bigger. And a team that normally I wouldn't be concerned about taking Baron now has a very real possibility of doing so. As we take a look back at, well, Clid's monstrously sin.
Shifts in for Faker. So now Clid knows shift is down. He says,
oh,
okay, you're dead now. He technically
EQ.
had flash, but there's no human that can react to that play in time.
Very strong statement. No human being can do it.
Damn.
He's not human, so I mean, maybe he would have been able to.
You need to be a deity or a god. Sorry, buddy. You got to work your way up. And of course, very back and forth, highly contested early game once again. Last game was slow. Yes, there were kills traded back, but it was not nearly this explosive. And at the end of the day, gold just about dead even. Drake traded for Drake.
What is impressive to me is I'm having a quick look at the gold right now, and Caps has actually built up a 100 gold advantage over Faker. Faker's 3-0-2.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of that actually came from the top lane.
Right now, a huge problem is Ezreal doesn't have a home. Remember when we talked about champions having a home? Like, this is something I talk about a lot, right? Like in mid game, does everyone have a lane they can go to? Perks has nowhere he can be. If Perks is mid, then he needs Galio babysitting him. And Faker plus Lee, Faker plus Gragas can actually win the 2v2. So he's just always getting babysat. Perks can't be in a side lane versus Yasuo, and Perks can't be in a side lane versus the Renekton either. So Perks doesn't have a home, and he needs to get babysat. And then now Caps is kind of paying the price for it, and he's jungling instead.
Lane plates that were funneled into him when he made that roam up towards topside. So even though
Ezreal usually has a home mid game where you can like poke people out, but because it's versus LeBlanc and because he's so far behind, like he's so worthless.
Coming out, but it will not connect. He's under the tower. Wonder needs to make it out to safety. He's going to dash away, but Khan
like
will not be.
G2 has to like overplay like this because one, they have to make sure Caps can get farmed, so he's like doing jungle camps, and then like Wonder Jankos can't make a play mid, they can't make a play top, so they're over forcing on Khan.
In the meantime, Yasuo has already dropped a tower. Teddy getting a lot of work done. G2 behind the play on this one. When the dive went awry, Teddy got so much in it.
Yeah, but Ezreal mid lane is just doing so little.
To do that, because that can open up the map in a huge way. In game 1, G2 was able to get
No
that
home,
4-man
Ezreal.
dive down onto Khan. Here in game 2, Khan is successfully able to defend, and SKT get the pressure on the other side.
He's just like a pressure sponge.
And why does this look like a reversed version of game 1?
He's like
team swap sides. Now it's G2 on blue.
I was
Game
referring to
1
like
Oh my
bench
God,
pressing the top
Chad.
lane
Holy.
tier 2. Oh my God. Did you really just tell? You're supposed to be. Nah, you're supposed to help me.
I really like
Mr. LEC
I mean, he makes a really good point there.
Okay,
I'm just
thanks.
saying. But I understand what you're trying to get at here, Dan Dracos, which is very much that SKT, they're trying to play the map, they're trying to play the side
Like,
lanes.
even
It
though
feels like
G2 has
they're
2
the ones
people mid
answering
lane,
well, whenever G2 tried to force
SKT has more
and
control over
that's
mid
because you're
lane.
right. It is largely thanks to the early game.
This is what happens
that
when
SKT
core
can build
champions
for
fall
themselves.
behind and they don't
we
have a
keep
home.
coming back to Faker, but a lot of it is also about Cleared. We highlighted what he can do on this Lee Sin in the early game, and the maps that he sets up for his team, the way in which he utilizes vision and how he works with the pressure that he has to get deep vision, gives the freedom for SKT to be able to make these plays on a side lane. And now the onus is on G2 to try and find those team fights. They're now in SKT's shoes, similar to what SKT was feeling in game 1.
And with Ornn approaching level 13, he'll be able to upgrade Perks' Trinity Force when he's able to get there, inject some gold back into G2 to potentially give him a chance in a team fight. And Perks in general is a player that I want to watch this game. He got instantly killed in the first bot jungle fight by a good E from effort with his E and his flash up, and he died the second time also with his flash up. He's been, I feel like, the best Xayah at the tournament, maybe the best Kai'Sa. Those two champions have been immaculate for him. We haven't seen much tape on his Ezreal, so he needs to also have a big game with all these things that are trying to get on him and one-shot him. If he
Huge spike for LeBlanc. Double penetration items, Ludens. She doesn't get any stronger after this. Unless she gets massive amounts of kills, like she's not going to get stronger. So it's so important SKT is doing things right now. LeBlanc level 11. Double magic pen, Ludens complete. Time to do things.
he can avoid that, it can buy G2 a lot of time in these fights.
This could be his moment. G2 is grouping up in the mid lane. SKT is poised to answer. Khan has TP. There's no vision bot side. But with the wave in G2's favor, I'm not sure if SKT want to force it.
All it takes is a single good cask or body slam to end a fight in their favor. Faker waiting in the darkness. Look at that vision setup from SKT. No one in G2 can walk into that jungle.
Yeah, thanks for drawing attention to it, Dracos, because you can see how much control they have over the bottom side and how little G2 can actually see. They have to use their pressure min, they have to group up as 4 in order to move into their own half.
This is one of the strongest regions you pick. Ezreal, he's strong in the mid 1-3-1, but he's so weak in the mid 1-3-1 right now, doing nothing.
But once again, it is Caps on a side lane. The rest of SKT trying to barrel down mid, but Faker is looking to respond.
And Faker has to match. The non-teleport LeBlanc is going down there to match. So for now, just Caps' split pushing and map instincts have been so valuable for G2. Without his roam into the top jungle or his split push presence, this game would likely be snowballing in the
Like, they
favor
have
of
to invest
SKT.
Ornn and Jarvan to be mid lane for them to
Caps
be
is
able to
keeping
get
them
control.
straight.
And what a story for Caps this has been. The gamble that he took, leaving Fnatic, a team that made it to the World Finals last year. And honestly, he had a disappointing World Finals last year. Rookie made him look like a fool. He was outed and he was obliterated, and many fans said that he just could not compete. He choked against the best in the world. But at MSI, he had a better performance, and now he is one of the key parts of G2 that is enabling them to go toe-to-toe with SKT.
And even Caps' summer split looked underwhelming based on some of the early expectations, but so far at Worlds...
He wasn't even on my top 20, Jeff.
Yeah, it wasn't. What are you doing, Vedius? He was, I think he has been G2's best player so far.
Yeah, you can see G2 start slowly losing control over this side. They can't push out this pink, they can't push out this pink, they can't push out this pink, and eventually they have to be scared of Gragasy Flash.
Because it always feels like one player is the rock. The source of consistency when everyone else on the team wants to take these high
SKT starting
risks. And for this
Dragon.
tournament, it has
Oh,
been.
G2
The
matching.
question is,
This is gonna be a fight.
can they
G2's
take this
matching.
fight? Mountain has
They
been
keep
started.
in for it.
G2's matching.
I'm going to walk in.
This is so worthless in my opinion, because even when they match with Ornn, like long as Yasuo holds wind wall, like Ornn literally can't do anything.
It goes down.
It's
G2 have
so
priority over
worthless.
mid lane. Perks has to be very careful as Faker fearlessly steps forward. The knock will not connect. Khan waiting in the darkness. That is a big Renekton. The Gragas cask could turn everything.
Lee.
They're trying to lock the CC together. The knockable connect, but Glitz still manages to make it out, and Caps zooming in and out of the fight. SKT need to pick.
They don't have to do anything. Just clear. SKT, all they have to do is clear wave.
Well, ultimately, SKT walk away with a Drake. They keep their mid-tower alive. They're going to use this opportunity to reset. Caps is actually going to.
Oh, they're going to give up mid-turret?
Just as a
Oh, okay, no, they're resetting. And they're coming back in for it.
Khan is there.
What was that for?
Baker low on mana.
Wait.
One more combo left.
Wind wall, wind wall. There you go.
Has now been used.
Wait, what are these Gragasouls?
Looking to disengage. There will be no follow-up from the last breath on Teddy.
That was so weird from SKT. They should have just gave up mid-turret and then like Khan re-TP'd in.
To just cut off SKT's access to mid lane, and then even after their original minion wave died, most teams would say, well played SKT, I guess we lose that one, but they just realm warp the next minion wave in, and they get an additional teleport of SKT and still get the mid lane turret.
And as good as it is to have that mid lane tower, it is a trade for game-long power in the form of the Mountain Drake for the mid lane tower now. So the question is, what can G2 get done with this mid lane open?
But also, what can SKT do with this mountain? Because one of the things we often see G2 do is two-man Baron takes. Yasuo is exceptional at securing Baron as long as he has a bit of a front line. He can have Clid do it, he can have Khan do it, it doesn't matter. But when you have double mountain with Yasuo at 2, maybe even 3 items, SKT could sneak this one away. So vision control around this objective is very important for G2 because you always have to respect that possibility.
And as you mentioned earlier, Jad, as we get later and later, the good news for G2, even if there's a small gold discrepancy and even if the mountains are stacking up against them, is that Wonder will be able to get some of these items down. Has upgraded already the Trinity Force on the side of Perks. He's at that 2-item point we always like to talk about. Caps a clean flash out to safety.
Has to dodge that with flash, I guess. Yeah,
they're still trying to follow up. The taunt is there to stop Baker from going any
good
further.
chain, good chain.
Phase rush has come out. Perks going into the midst of everything.
E-flash.
The last breath, and it will be Caps's as the shutdown comes through, but Perks is not done yet. He wants to make the difference. Yanko sleeping in. He gets the shutdown, and now they're in the Cataclysm. Khan is into the backside, and Perks.
No damage left on G2. They're gonna get wiped here. They don't have damage. They don't have damage left.
But it is not enough, and this is a monstrous performance from Teddy. This is the Yasuo dream. No one can lock him down as Khan, Teddy, and Clid tear through G2 Esports. Goodbye
no damage.
to Mickey. Goodbye to Wonder.
The moment Caps died and then Perks died after, the fight was already lost.
Yasuo is clean if there were any doubts before that fight, and what a brawl that ended up being. Caps initially avoids the...
I thought it looked a little bit bad for SKT because they had to waste so much things to kill Perks. Or not Perks, Caps, and then Perks kind of died pretty quickly.
Engage. SKT continue to fight through.
They had to play that much slower.
We
can actually rewatch the fight, but they wasted a lot to kill Caps, and then I think Perks had to play really slow.
To get some of these items down. Has upgraded already the Trinity Force on the side of Perks. He's at that 2-item point we always like to talk about.
Caps flashing.
Caps a clean flash out to safety.
Wonder not moving. Fight's already starting, and Wonder's still on creeps, and Wonder's not moving. Yanko started moving, but Wonder didn't, so that's why Wonder's so late. Yep, Wonder's still on the wave.
But now they're still trying to follow up. The taunt is there to stop Baker from going any further. Caps now on the retreat. Phase rush has come out. Perks going into the midst of everything.
So to kill him, they had to use WR, R, E flash. So they wasted so much. It's not really a waste, but they spent so much to kill Caps.
Everything with the knockup is there. The last breath, and it will be Caps's as the shutdown.
Here?
Perks going into the midst of everything with the knockup is there. The last breath, and it will be Caps's.
This E's kind of crazy for me for Perks. Because there's so much threat still left on SKT, and Ornt wasn't even moving in the fight, so this play is a little bit too aggressive.
As the shutdown comes through, but Perks is not done yet. He wants to make the difference. Yanko sleeping in. Will they re-engage? He gets the shutdown!
And then like this E right here. Oh, actually this initial E was fine.
Yanko sleeping in. Will they re-engage?
And then this second E, you probably have to wait a bit more.
Oh. Into the backside, and Perks gets cut down. The sweeping blade from Teddy. Yet another knockup. Wonder wants to turn this one. Wants to find the knockups back onto Khan, but it is not enough. And this is a monstrous performance from Teddy. This is the Yasuo dream.
Yeah, the second E was way bigger than the first E.
Khan, Teddy, and Clid tear through G2 Esports. Goodbye to Mickey. Goodbye to Wonder. That will be the
And also G2 has a comp where if Caps and Perks die, they don't have damage.
Clean if there were any doubts before that fight, and what a brawl that ended up being. Caps initially avoids the engage. SKT continue to fight through, and both teams opt in. Now with Double Mountain, they want the Baron, but Caps, he's back.
We talked about it, a fantastic tournament so far. SKT,
Yeah, the Baron call was a bit troll.
Are simply too low. That could have been his moment, but SKT will not give him his shot.
And it's SKT punishing Caps once again. They found an opportunity to do it in game one. Now Caps is staring dead in the eyes.
No flash, no flash, no flash, no flash, no flash, no flash.
He's running for the hills, but
no
it simply will not
flash.
be enough. Caps gets taken out.
Wyvern stopwatch. Wait, what the fuck? Wyvern stopwatch. Wait! Wyvern
The
stopwatch.
only bright side for G2 is that SKT have not reset yet.
Oh,
They're
the
gonna
reset
delay
cancel.
The resets even
They're in mid.
more.
And Ezreal just tears through towers at this point of the game. 200% damage on the Sheen procs.
Everything SKT does just feels like it takes so much time against G2. That's actually a death for an inner mid lane turret. A lot of teams.
I don't think that stopwatch was worth it.
Even though it feels like Caps would get
He buys so little
the
time.
loss in that trade, but he delayed enough for SKT. He took enough of them low that they had to burn their recalls on it, and now we're just reset yet again.
And what a series!
Yeah, can
It's
we
only
just appreciate
it's not like
They would have gotten that turret
appreciate what happened. We're
anyways.
gonna watch this fight one more time. So, instant flash there to avoid the knockup, and then effort. It looks like he might actually die, but he ends up going all the way through to start the initiation.
Ding.
Now, Caps
The chain
wanted
hitting,
to
E
use
flash,
the phase
Yasuo
rush
coming in.
to get the bonus movement speed to get out of that situation. But the chains are just so long that Faker was still able to find the binding, and that's what allowed them to collapse. But you can see the damage that came out from both Perks and Caps to allow G2
Oh,
to get
that
the
second
lead.
E,
Which
Perks.
they think is
Ugh,
a
if he
bit
didn't do that
favor,
second
but
E.
it's not.
And then just what's your move replay? You can see Teddy's move is just to style on everyone.
And also Khan, who had an underwhelming game one, made a great play this fight to close the distance onto Perks and help combo up with Teddy. So Khan actually got most of the kills at the end of that fight, even though it was the Yasuo who did the 5k damage.
And really, just the difference in build once we get out of the damage graph here, it's going to show you a very different story. It was Spirit Visage, it was Titanic.
Wonder had to
This
group
game,
much faster.
we're back on
Yanko
the
through when he had to
Spirit
group, Wonder
Connector.
pushed
We're
an
back on the
additional
Black
wave.
Cleaver, and this man has to be respected. 5-0-2 on this champion.
And this is still anyone's game. We just saw Mountain Drake being taken, but it's only a 1.3 thousand gold lead, and SKT is actually doing Baron on a control ward. So either they do a 50-50 or they fight right now.
Doo-doo.
Ulti's coming out. Wonder wants to knock it over the wall.
Wind. Oh,
Hoping to stop
oh,
it.
wind wall.
Responding.
Yeah.
Can they get anything done? But no. Baron has gone over the Galio.
This
A
is-
little bit earlier. SKT.
It's impossible for Yankos to steal it because it's level 13 Lee, so 2 level difference, and Lee has Q Smite Q.
Are just going to back off. They're going to get 5 members strong with the Baron. G2 were not ready for the play.
The double mountain with the Yasuo with just straight up confidence coming out from SKT to know that they can melt that down. I wonder if they actually saw Mickey on the reset, knowing that they had the numbers advantage, because the way in which
Now
they just
SKT's
forced that
comp
play
coming
to me
alive in
suggested,
other
okay,
manners.
there's no way G2 will be able to
Renekton,
answer in time.
Yasuo.
And as we saw,
It was
they were
really
away
focused
with
on
the
LeBlanc
full
Lee,
5 minutes.
and then they
They
bridged the
never let
piece,
Yankos get
so
in
now
range to
Renekton's in a
force
really
it.
strong
The
spot.
effort used
2 items
ultimate
complete. Yasuo, 2 items plus
heal him away,
QSS
and
stopwatch.
The flash was down from a previous fight, so they felt relatively safe with that secure, but that's a gutsy call here, because if SKT give up a Baron there, they'd be staring a 2-0 deficit in the face. They need to close out this game to make it a 1-1.
As we check in across the board for itemization, double masterwork items for the Ornn on the top side. Perks finishing that 3rd item alongside the QSS. SKT will be uncontested for now on this tier 1 tower. X-Flash coming in as Mickey will just retreat, but have to give respect to this SKT lineup. The LeBlanc, the Lee Sin, the dive threat here with the
Oh,
Yasuo.
SKT, let's see if they actually do something with their
Very
Baron.
difficult for G2,
I hate
but
SKT
still
Baron.
threatening and clearing out the waves for now.
Faker playing with fire.
Yeah. He distorted in just for a few autos,
Wait a minute.
Oh,
and now gets his passive burned by
I mean, stuff like this is so good from Perks.
They're a little bit lower, but that's the
But
top
the moment you make
down.
one
Oh,
mistake,
Faker,
it
largest
fucks you
lead
so
here
hard.
These teams have had so far in the series.
Faker might die. If Perks lands,
Alti, Faker, dash away, doesn't fall for it.
Wow, SKT does so little with Baron. God, it's so fucking frustrating to
Right
watch.
there, body block for Perks.
They have like Gragas with E flash and like Gragas with R2. If this is Fnatic or G2, they get that mid turret for sure.
Would like like to just reset. They still have a minute left on the Baron. They had pings coming
Like
down.
SKT Baron is like
Tier 2 and
literally the
Tier
worst
2,
part of their
which
playbook.
clearly suggests that they want to try and break these tier 2 towers down before the next big fight occurs. And they should have the time to do it. And G2, they're now on the back foot. They're playing much more towards the scaling aspect. Their teamfight prowess is still strong. But what we're seeing from SKT is that SKT's composition, because of the Yasuo and the Gragas, it's very easy for them to start things. As long as you get a knock-up, the Yasuo is going in. And as long as SKT keeps starting fights on their terms, it's always difficult for G2 to answer, largely because of this wind wall mitigating Wonder's ultimate.
I agree, but SKT also have to make something happen with this Baron buff.
It's definitely true. Teddy now stepping
Oh!
forward. The knockback is there right onto Perks. Perks now going to leap out to safety, but it's not going to be enough.
Holy.
Teddy trying to cut him down, and he
That
will
ult
find
from
the kill.
effort.
Teddy getting everything kicked off the last breath. Coming in, the combo of the Gragas and the Opera.
I don't understand why they can't do this on their initial Baron push and they delay it so much.
Was so clean, but now Faker's been locked up over the wall. Maybe they can find the kill, but no, the distortion will take him back to safety. G2 just doing what they can to hold on after Perks drops.
That's a huge play for them to try and actually get some turrets, because SKT also got a Baron in game
Watch
1. They were
effort
unable
flash.
to get a meaningful enough advantage for them to be able to win that game. This time, though, they get the pick onto Perks, and they have
Didn't he just
26
E-flash to get the knock-up?
Or the knockback is there.
So have to make something happen with this Baron buff.
It's definitely true. Teddy now stepping forward. The knockback is there right onto Perks. Perks now going to leap out to
Oh,
safety.
wait.
It's definitely true. Teddy now.
Ult flash give vision? Okay, that was actually hella cute. I thought he just E-flashed to get Perks knocked up.
I agree, but SKT also have to make something happen with this Baron buff.
It's definitely true. Teddy now stepping forward. The knockback is there right onto Perks. Perks now going to leap out to safety, but it's not going to be enough. Teddy trying to cut him down, and he will find the kill. Teddy getting everything kicked off the last breath. Coming in, the combo of the Gragas and the Yasuo so clean, but now Faker's been locked up over the wall. Maybe they can find the kill, but no, the distortion will take him back to safety. G2 just doing what they can to hold on after Perks drops.
That's a huge play for them to try and actually get some turrets, because SKT also got a Baron in game
Wow,
1.
thank
They were
God
unable to get a
SKT doing
meaningful enough
something with their
advantage
Baron
to be able
for
to win
first
that
time in
game.
their life.
This time, though, they get the pick onto Perks, and they have 27 seconds left on this Baron to try and break inhibs.
G2 need to pick their fight. They need to pick their moment. But they're running out of time. Mid lane will break. The inhibitor now next on the list. 4 members moving up from G2, but it might mean giving up bot lane if they go to
Thank
contest.
God.
The wave now crashing in on the bottom side. Khan and Klid ready to threaten. SKT will retreat, though, happy with just the mid lane inhibitor. A sole pressure point for the next minutes.
Very clean play overall from SKT. Little to criticize. They've now ballooned the gold lead to about 6K. It was a very tense mid-game, but the way in which SKT have been executing these fights, their punish playstyle where they were able to catch members of G2 off guard, out of position, and out-execute them on fights, is what has now led them to this positioning. They're set up to bring us to a 1-1. There is still room and opportunity for G2 to bring this back, but right now this is looking like the SKT game.
Perk Juice D already there.
Putting the arcane shift there means he can't get away, and an easy fall from Teddy. And once you are behind in a trade against the Yasuo, you're
Flash.
pretty much just dead.
Woo.
Timing on that flash to close the distance as well as avoid Wonder's horn. Very big for Teddy. He's got to be sitting on a large amount of gold. Yeah, Teddy's on 2.7K. Wait to see what he ends up upgrading here, because it's the Yasuo who'll be looking to hard carry these fights now.
And it's going to be the Bloodthirster. Just trying to match the damage output. It is only 2 damage threats on the side of G2. And I think it's important to note that while G2 go in really well, they do not get
It's just such a stark contrast, because I know when G2 gets the lead, the game is so different. When SKT gets the lead, it's so slow.
Do not want to take. Whereas you saw there, Perks, if he ever gets caught, no one can save him.
For me, one of the biggest differences from this game to last game is the fact that Faker is on a champion that can match Caps' side lane pressure. We have not seen Caps generate the same threat on a side lane that he did in game 1, and a lot of that is because even though Faker is only running Ignite,
Actually, it was the same for
Caps
Dom
can't
1
afford
win
to
against
overextend
G2.
anymore because he can
Dom 1 was really
actually
slow
die
too.
in a 1v1 against this champion.
Damn, Korean teams are
Additionally,
so slow.
Instead of a 0-2 Renekton, it's a
Holy.
5-0 Renekton.
That
so
also helps, yeah.
It's an actual problem.
The champions are the same, but the game itself is played in a different way, and I think with 52 seconds on the Baron buff and no vision yet acquired by SKT, this is where G2 need to get in there first and try and set up a pick. I mean, how many of these games felt like they were about to break until G2 found a pick? So that's what they need to go for here. They actually just see Faker, no teleport, no mana. It would be a moment for them to try and do something.
Still giving a lot of respect to Teddy, though, retreating in the mid lane. Faker not even backing yet, still confidently stepping forward, interrupting a little bit there. And SKT just exerting their dominance, setting up around this Baron. 23 seconds until it respawns.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised Faker's sitting around with such low mana. His,
Bot lane.
His blue buff is up, so he's actually not going to recall. But
Yeah, they're fighting bot lane. Caps now trying to use the realm warp, but baiting. Now going to try to step away.
Shojin Renek.
We'll find the knockup. Wonder now coming in, wants to get something done.
Oh, Shojin Renek.
Gets in and gets out, takes down Caps. Wonder just
3 items Shojin
Teddy
Renek.
and Khan should be able to walk this one down. The Orange does not have enough damage to kill both of these
Too big.
champions. Knockup's going to be there in just a moment. Wonder
That
taking it
crocodile.
away, knocks down both solo laners, dropping in that exchange.
And this is Khan's game. He is stepping up in
What was
a
Wonder
huge way.
first game?
G2
Kled?
Needed to try and create
Wonder's
that
just on
two-man
supportive
two-person
champions the whole time.
side lane play that had worked
He's
for
our,
them throughout
even
the
though he's
entirety
some
of
games
game
he's not
one.
on a supportive champion, he's playing supportive
Resurrected Man,
roles
what
at
are
the
you
very
really going
least.
to do in that fight? He just destroys Caps.
Looks like whatever it is for G2, it was not enough. And now, with only 3 members of G2 alive, SKT can easily move towards the
Free
Baron
Baron,
and
2
secure
solo
this
laners dead.
objective. We were talking about how this looked like SKT's game. G2, it's very difficult for them to come back. With the draft that they have available to themselves, it's going to rely on a massive mistake from the side of SKT. And with this Baron buff, this next push should be the things to settle.
Yeah, watch this duel one more time. Khan also has a GA with the Sojin. It's the cooldown, but it's all about access. Can Caps root and run with Phase Rush enough? Because the Slice and Dice followed in the right way, and then also because he just has so much burst, you never even get the orange.
Wait, he trolled his combo.
There from Khan. Very little
You're supposed to RW when you have Shojin.
Teddy
positioning, Teddy positioning. Okay, never mind. Never mind. Don't even matter. Not the greatest positioning, but they're just so ahead. Doesn't even matter.
But Klid wants to end the game, but Caps is going to run more around safety. Caps is trying to win 2 fights at the same time. Wind wall will not be enough. Unstoppable. They will defend the base. They will win the fight, and G2 hold on.
Lee was split pushing. What?
Klid fight. Klid pushed mid lane when the team was fighting, and G2
Wait.
was able to get an
Can I get a replay?
An extended 5v4
Give me a replay.
down on the bottom lane. Klid gets 1 Nexus turret, and G2, they repel the Baron push. They stay alive.
Wow. We talked about how SKT needed to make a massive mistake for G2 to stay into this game, and that was the mistake that G2 were looking for, because as you rightly said, Jack, this was a
Baker
split
went into
decision
poke.
from SKT.
Teddy can just go walk up, dash using Yankos or dash using a creep, and he can break through the wall and flash out also. And when he's like behind creeps here, he's not that much in danger. Effort can also deny Caps from entering.
And I think Teddy is playing this
Denied Caps entry, and then
about near flawlessly as he can, right?
ult
He
on
gets the stop
Jarvan.
watch he needs.
So he fucks the Galio
He solo
engage.
kills Yankos. He's just waiting for the TP to come through. And keep your eyes on the minimap rather than the fight. Klid is walking in with the minions.
Effort
and
kinda
it's like,
trolled.
if all 5 members are there, let's just try and end the game with the Baron buff. And while the fight is taking place,
Actually, Klid shows up behind here. Lee Sin R perks into the fight. That would have been nice. Or on Caps too.
Caps then notices. He throws out the Realm Warp in the middle of the
Klid
fight
actually
to say,
just trolled the
okay,
fight.
I need to get back to my team.
Oh, and then he's able to stop Klid while Perks had.
Klid just trolled that fight. He could have flanked both the carries.
Teddy. That's the type of play that keeps G2 in it.
Well, and this is the thing. G2's composition. This is the front-to-back team fight you're dreaming of. When the enemy team only gets to hit Yankos, Mickey, and Wonder, you're having a great time. When you're split up, everything gets harder. And for SKT, it just feels like miscommunication. Now, the good news for this team is they're at 7K gold.
Yes.
Yeah, they still have Baron. They are not out. That did not cost them the game, but it will cost them time. And time means more opportunities for G2 to find yet another play.
Exactly.
Yeah, they still have Gragas Yasuo.
Trolled. No other player would use Realm Warp and they could lose 2 turrets. Trolled. If Klid is there, there's a very high chance SKT wins that team fight. If they win that team fight, they don't just get 2 Nexus turret. They get the entire base. They win the game.
They still
That
have
was
the
actually
level 18
trolling.
Renekton with Sojin. The GA was burned in that fight, so it's still like, no matter what big of a gold lead, a 3v5 or a 4v5 can still go to the team with less gold, so that's what G2 is looking for. They're hoping for a pick onto Teddy, who is down exhaust, or they're hoping for SKT to split themselves up again.
Looks like SKT's main focus is going to be on the Elder Drake.
And G2 will just
What, you can't say that for sure. Why can't I say they have a way higher chance of winning that team fight with the Lee Sin there?
No inhibitors are down, and a bit of vision will
I'm
come
pretty
out
sure I can say
from
that for sure.
Perks' ultimate, but
less than 1k Baron power play. Jesus.
Chunked out by that Ezreal ultimate.
He also finished his death cap, but that recall is going to buy enough time for G2 to get the inside track onto the Elder.
They're gonna rush it.
They have a
rush it.
They should absolutely rush
careful.
this. No, they're just going to rush it.
Mickey's going to try to body block. Just wants to make sure that Clid can't get into the pit. They need to shred through this one, then get something done. There's no Yasuo there to body block.
He steals it.
I can't believe it in the moment where it matters most, and Teddy now instantly has back.
Cap's not going to be able to do damage here. Yeah, Cap comes to die. That's over.
Everyone is dead as Mickey hits the ground. Everyone on his team drops. It is a clean fight for SKT, and Clid is the hero they were waiting for.
The jungle level difference was huge. It was a level 16 Clid to a level 13 Jankos. G2 had to keep him out of the pit to secure that Elder. They could not do it. Clid found the way in, and with a team fight win, SKT are going to equalize the series.
And this series is defying my expectations. If you would have told me Faker takes a bad recall and then his jungler bails him out with the beautiful Elder Dragon Steel, I wouldn't have believed you. I would have told you
Faker, leave the stage. Get ready for next game.
Because Clid comes up clutch.
So, knowing the result that SKT overall loses the series, like this kind of game really shows why. Like SKT took a very risky draft, LeBlanc Lee into Rise, and the execution window for them to actually get it was so small, and they did get it. But even when they are snowballing, the snowballing is so slow comparatively, and their Baron power plays are at like 1k, 2k gold advantage, where G2 Baron power plays are going to be like blowing open the base. So yeah, I think there is a huge problem with the way SKT and Korea in general is approaching League of Legends.